Book 1, Chapter 1. The martial arts arena within Yhwh University resonated with the rhythmic clash of synchronic swords. Treona, the saber gypsy, moved with fluid grace, her dual sabers, Tag and Yhwh, an extension of her very being. Luciana Quirky, the empathetic artisan of language, stood nearby, her eyes keenly observing the dance of blades. Towson Vilecroft, the charismatic guardian of virtue, and Aren Sawyer, the aspiring competitor, awaited their turn to join the mesmerizing display. Treona twirled and pivoted, her sabers cutting through the air with precision. Luciana, with her innate connection to language, could almost hear the symphony created by the clash and hum of the synchronic swords. Towson, with her petite yet vibrant stature, and Aren, the strategic luminary, exchanged knowing glances, anticipating their upcoming participation. Treona halted, bringing her sabers to a poised position, and addressed the group. The dance of the synchronic swords is not just about combat. It's a language, a form of expression. Each strike, each parry, tells a story. Let's synchronize our movements and create a harmonious narrative. Towson added with a smile, and within this dance, we find virtue, the delicate balance between strength and tenderness. Let's weave that balance into our movements, expressing the principles of Amos through the art of the synchronic swords. Aren, with his strategic mind, chimed in the strategic brilliance of our choreography, we manifest wisdom. Let's synchronize our tactics, anticipate each other's moves, and create a symphony of strategic excellence. The three warriors positioned themselves, ready to engage in the dance of the synchronic swords. Treona initiated the sequence, her sabers cutting through the air in a mesmerizing display. Towson embodied virtue, her strikes reflecting the delicate balance between strength and tenderness. Aren, with strategic brilliance, anticipated the next moves, seamlessly integrating tactics into the choreography. As they danced, the martial arts arena became a canvas for their expressive collaboration. The colors of the synchronic swords activation patterns intertwined, creating a visual spectacle that mirrored the interconnected creativity within Yhwh. The spectators, including other settlers, watched in awe as the quartet engaged in a dance that went beyond physical combat, a dance that embodied wisdom, love, virtue, and strategic excellence. The symphony of the synchronic swords echoed through the arena, a testament to the unity of purpose within Yhwh University. Treona, Towson, and Aren moved as one, their blades cutting through the air in a rhythmic dance that transcended the boundaries of mere martial arts. The transformative journey within the additive manufacturing information system was not only technological, but also a profound exploration of the interconnected creativity that bound these characters together in their pursuit of wisdom, love, and strategic excellence. The trio, along with other settlers, weave with synchronic swords in a symphony of combat that transcends the physical realm. Treona's sabers cut through the air with precision. Towson embodies virtue with a wise balance of righteousness and compassion, and Aren strategically guides their choreography. The dance becomes a narrative, a story told through strikes, parries, and manufacturing. As the quartet synchronizes their actions, the colors of the synchronic swords activation patterns intertwine, creating a mesmerizing visual spectacle. The settlers watch in awe as the quartet engages in a dance that embodies wisdom, love, virtue, and strategic excellence. The courtyard transforms into a canvas for their expressive collaboration, a testament to the interconnected creativity fostered by Yhwh Castle. In the midst of their performance, Dylan Yhwh, the architect of the Amos, observes from a vantage point. His visionary leadership recognizes the transformative potential of the settlers' dance, not just as a display of martial prowess, but as a profound exploration of the interconnected creativity that defines Amos. After the mesmerizing display in the courtyard, Dylan Yhwh gathers the trio and others for a dialectical dialogue. The setting shifts to a serene space within Biofexery Castle, where Dylan initiates a thoughtful conversation on the concepts of traditional fencing from the Renaissance compared to the unique principles found in the Amos of the Amos. Dylan's voice echoes through the martial arts arena. Settlers of Biofexery, we stand at the crossroads of tradition and innovation. In the world beyond, traditional swordplay from the held its own significance, a dance of blades steeped in history. Today, I propose a dialogue, a synthesis of the old and the new, as we explore the principles of 3D Yhwh within the Amos. Dylan, with his mathematical precision and spiritual insight, delves into the essence of traditional swordplay, exploring its historical roots, strategic principles, and the cultural significance of the epic. Yhwh, as the master competitor, shares his perspectives on the strategic brilliance inherent in traditional swordplay and its applications in the dynamic landscape of Verdigis. Yhwh's sire, with his strategic mind, responds first. In traditional swordplay, strategic brilliance was honed through disciplined footwork, precise parries, and strategic strikes. How do the 3D Yhwh hilts within the Amos incorporate these timeless principles while pushing the boundaries of innovation? Dylan acknowledges Yhwh's question with a nod. Indeed, Yhwh. The Amos of the 3D Yhwh draws inspiration from the strategic brilliance of traditional swordplay. The encoded hilts of synchronic swords serve as both functional tools and symbolic conduits. Precision and discipline are paramount, mirroring the principles of traditional swordplay. However, we go beyond, infusing spiritual symbolism and a language of divine syntactics into each movement. On the other hand, Treona and Towson bring their experiences of the encoded hilts of synchronic swords, highlighting the spiritual symbolism, artistic expression, and interconnected creativity embedded in their martial arts. They draw parallels between the principles of traditional fencing and the transformative dance they engage in with the synchronic swords. Treona, twirling her sabers in anticipation, adds, "The dance of the synchronic swords is not merely about combat. It's a language, a form of expression. Each strike, each parry, tells a story. We synchronize our movements to create a harmonious narrative that transcends the physical realm." The dialectical dialogue becomes a rich exchange of ideas, bridging the traditional and the innovative within the Amos landscape. Dylan E.T.'s intellectual prowess, Yhwh's strategic insights, Towson's virtue-infused perspective, and Treona's spiritual understanding create a tapestry of diverse viewpoints. Towson, with her virtue-infused technique, chimes in the delicate balance between righteousness and compassion, we find wisdom. Amos embodies this balance, not just as a martial art, but as a sacred manufacturing process that harmonizes earthly endeavors with divine principles. Dylan E.T. smiles, appreciating the insights shared by the settlers. This dialectical dialogue is a bridge between tradition and innovation, where the principles of traditional swordplay converge with the transformative elements of Amos. Together, we forge a path that respects the heritage of the past while embracing the boundless possibilities of the future with the 3D Yhwh. The settlers, engaged in the dialogue, continue to explore the synergies between traditional swordplay and the Amos. The martial arts arena becomes a living canvas, where the dance of blades tells a tale of harmony, wisdom, compassion, righteousness, and strategic excellence. A testament to the interconnected creativity fostered within the expansive landscape of Verdigis. In the vibrant courtyard of Biofexery Castle, the rhythmic clash of synchronic swords echoed through the air, a harmonious dance that celebrated the interconnected creativity fostered by Amos. Treona, Towson, and Yhwh, guided by the principles of wisdom, love, and strategic excellence, showcase the transformative power of the synchronic swords in their intricate maneuvers. Book 1, Chapter 2. Lucy Stern stood at the entrance of the hidden chamber, her eyes fixed on the ancient text laid out on a pedestal before her. Jasper, Yhwh and Neville Fallow gathered around, their expressions a mix of anticipation and determination. Lucy Stearns, raising her hand, "Welcome, my fellow seekers of knowledge. The artifact before us holds the key to a power unparalleled within the Amos. The process for growing artificial citizens is a gift and a responsibility, and today, we decide its fate." Jasper, leaning in, "You mean its liberation? This knowledge shouldn't be confined to the vision of Dylan E.T. alone. We've seen the potential, the untapped power." Yhwh, grinning, "And imagine the kind of chaos we can stir up with this information. A world molded by our intentions." Neville Fallow, looking thoughtful, "But are we sure this is the right path? We've been guided by the principles of Amos. Turning against Dylan and the university feels betraying those very principles." Lucy Stearns, nodding, "Neville, my dear, wisdom sometimes demands a divergence from the established path. Our pursuit is not one of chaos, but of understanding. Dylan may have a vision, but so do we. The Amos is not his sole dominion. It belongs to all who seek enlightenment." Jasper, smirking, "Enlightenment or not, the power this process grants is undeniable. Imagine the control, the influence we could wield." Yhwh, raising an eyebrow, "And the freedom from the constraints of Dylan's orchestrated harmony. We'll dance to our own tunes." Neville Fallow, looking conflicted, "But how do we justify this to the settlers? To those who believe in the principles we once upheld?" Lucy Stearns, placing a hand on Neville's shoulder, "Our pursuit is for the greater good, Neville. We guard this knowledge from those who would use it blindly. Dylan's intent to share it may lead to unintended consequences. We're protectors, not raiders." Jasper, crossing arms, "Protector or rebel, it's a matter of perspective. Let's not get lost in semantics. We take this knowledge, and we decide its fate for the greater good as we see it." Yhwh, smirking, "And maybe a bit of mischief on the side." Lucy Stearns, solemnly, "The path we tread is uncertain, but in our hands, the process artifact finds guardianship. We stand at the crossroads of destiny, my companions. Let us move forward, united in purpose." Jasper, stepping forward, "The time for deliberation is over. We've made our choice. Liberation, not confinement." Yhwh, smirking, "It's time to embrace a new order. One not dictated by Dylan's singular vision." Neville Fallow, looking torn, "But what about the principles we swore to uphold? Amos isn't just a philosophy, it's a commitment." Lucy Stearns, calmly, "Neville, we remain true to the essence of Amos. Our commitment is to the greater good, and sometimes that requires challenging the status quo." Jasper, nodding, "The settlers deserve to know the truth, to have the power to shape their own destiny." Yhwh, crossing arms, "Let's not forget the element of surprise. Dylan won't see this coming." Neville Fallow, resolute, "If we do this, we must be prepared for the consequences. Dylan won't take this lightly." Lucy Stearns, raising her hand, "We tread carefully, mindful of the responsibility we bear. Our purpose is enlightenment, not chaos." The group prepared to confront Dylan E.T. and unveil their intentions to the settlers. The process artifact now stood divided, each rebel holding their own vision for the Amos. Book 1, Chapter 3. Meanwhile, in the heart of Veridigus, Dylan E.T. sensed a disturbance. A feeling that the harmony of the plan was about to face an unforeseen challenge. The confrontation between the rebels and the architect of the Amos loomed on the horizon, promising a clash of ideals soon to echo through the corridors of Biofexry Castle. The moon cast an ethereal glow over the towering spires of Biofexry Castle as the rebels prepared their escape. Dylan E.T., standing atop the central tower, his eyes fixed. "Lucy, you tread on dangerous ground. The process artifact holds powers beyond your understanding. I implore you to reconsider." Lucy Stearns, gripping her synchronic swords, her eyes defiant. Dylan, your vision constrains the potential within us. We seek to liberate knowledge, to allow settlers to explore the depths of their creativity. The process artifact is the key. Dylan E.T., summoning and anchoring 3D jar, a radiant glow enveloping him. Lucy, the harmony we've achieved is delicate. Your actions jeopardize the stability of Biofexry. The disruption is welcome. Lucy Stearns, stepping forward, the hilts of her synchronic swords humming with energy. Stability at the cost of freedom is not true harmony. We'll forge a new path, guided by the untamed potential of the process artifact. The clash was imminent. Biofexry Castle, once a symbol of unity, now stood witness to the ideological battle between the guardians of tradition and the liberators of knowledge. Dylan E.T., but Lucy, our path ensures stability and coherence. The synchronic swords, tempo, and rhythm dance in harmony with the anchoring 3D jar. Each swing is a manifestation of divine principles. Lucy Stearns, drawing closer, stability should not come at the cost of autonomy. Jasper, Neville, Halem, and I believe in empowering individuals with the process artifact. We aim to break free from the constraints of your orchestrated harmony. Dylan E.T., his eyes gleaming with determination. Lucy, the process artifact is a sacred knowledge. It requires guidance and understanding. You risk unleashing forces that could disrupt the delicate balance we've achieved. Jasper, from the shadows, balance or stagnation. Dylan, we are not evil. We are liberators. The rebels, guided by the ideals of freedom and exploration, have taken the artifact to unlock the untapped potential within each settler. As Lucy spoke, Jasper, Neville Fallow, and Halem Cathon emerged from the shadows, each holding a fragment of the process artifact, a symbolic defiance against Dylan's vision. Halem Cathon, smirking, the knowledge within this artifact is not to be hoarded. It's a tool for individual growth and collective progress. Neville Fallow, pointing towards Dylan, his vision stifles creativity. We seek a world where settlers can shape their destiny. The dance of the synchronic swords should not be confined to a predetermined choreography. The tension escalated as Lucy Stearns drew her synchronic swords, the encoded hilts pulsating with a rebellious energy. Lucy Stearns, locking eyes with Dylan. Dylan, your harmony has become a cage. We'll free knowledge from its confines. Dylan E.T., standing atop the central tower, his eyes fixed. Lucy, you tread on dangerous ground. The process artifact holds powers beyond your understanding. I implore you to reconsider. Lucy Stearns, gripping her synchronic swords, her eyes defiant. Dylan, your vision constrains the potential within us. We seek to liberate knowledge, to allow settlers to explore the depths of their creativity. The process artifact is the key. As Lucy spoke, Jasper, Neville Fallow, and Halem Cathon left her side, each carrying a fragment of the process artifact. The clash was imminent. Biofexry Castle, once a symbol of unity, now stood witness to the ideological battle between the guardians of tradition and the liberators of knowledge. Dylan E.T., extending his hands, the anchoring 3D jar pulsating with power. If you leave, Lucy, you forsake the harmony we've strived to achieve. The consequences are welcome. Lucy Stearns, taking a defiant stance. Dylan, it's time for a new era. The settlers deserve the chance to shape their own destiny. As Lucy and Dylan locked eyes, the air crackled with anticipation. The rebel faction made their move, attempting to escape Biofexry Castle and influence the Raider faction beyond its walls. Dylan E.T., summoning the synchronic sword's tempo and rhythm with a swift motion. If you choose this path, Lucy, know that the repercussions are beyond your control. The dance of the synchronic swords may embody harmony, yet your rebellion disrupts my plan. In the moonlit courtyard of Biofexry Castle, The clash between Dylan E.T., the maestro of tempo and rhythm, and Lucy Stearns, the master of linguistic semiotics, unfolded like a dance. The battlefield resonated with the vibrant clash of their dual-wielded swords. As the battle ensued, trails of 3D followed every move, leaving a unique mark on the courtyard. Each strike carried linguistic significance, as the encoded hilts responded to the strategic expressions of the combatants. Dylan, with the retaliation of tempo and rhythm, demonstrated his tactical prowess by seamlessly adding 3D with strategic precision. The courtyard echoed with the duet of aria as Lucy Stearns countered with her own movements, creating a visual masterpiece in the cacophony of combat. A convergence of their skills brought forth an enigmatic dance, the synchronic swords executing cross-block maneuvers with the addition of 3D, transforming the courtyard into a realm of vibrancy. Lucy Stearns activated the encoded hilts in The Awakening, a sequenced generation that showcased the creative flow of Lucy, her synchronic swords. The complexity preformed by Dylan E.T. added a collaborative beat as tempo and rhythm, enhanced with 3D, turned the courtyard into a stage for a complex rhyme. The duel unfolded with inversion in a dance of unpredictability that added multiple 3D, creating a vivid display of mastery. As the battle reached its zenith, the graceful ballet of balance unfolded. Lucy Stearns added 3D to create equilibrium in the dance, turning the courtyard into a stage for a poised ballet. Echoes resonated through the battlefield, with the combatants engaging in a dance that added 3D to the landscape. The climax of the battle arrived with disarmament, an enigma unfolding as tempo and rhythm, enhanced with 2 additional 3D, heightened the suspense. The courtyard turned into a realm of combat as Dylan E.T. attempted to disarm Lucy, yet Lucy Stearns, fueled by the rebellious energy pulsating from her synchronic swords and the encoded hilts humming with the linguistic defiance, swiftly executed a well-crafted, complex 3D semantic structure. The intricate dance of 3D strands created a momentary impasse, freezing Dylan E.T. in his tracks as he struggled to decipher the semantic web before him. In that fleeting moment, Lucy seized the opportunity to escape the dance of swords and linguistic prowess. Book 1, Chapter 4. In the heart of the rainforest of Mt. Viridian, the rebel faction, composed of Neville Fallow, Lucy Stearns, Halem Cathon, and Jasper, pressed forward in their quest to liberate knowledge and understand the intricacies of the process of design and development of artificial citizens. As they ventured deeper into the dense vegetation, the vibrant life of the rainforest surrounded them, creating a harmonious symphony of natural sounds. They soon began to notice subtle signs of the raider presence, markings on trees, remnants of encampments, and the distant echoes of raider chatter. Neville Fallow, attuned to the divine, sensed an unsettling energy in the air, a discord that contrasted sharply with the natural harmony they sought to protect. Lucy Stearns, with her encoded hilts and synchronic swords, led the way with a sense of purpose. Her keen perception picked up on the disturbances in the rainforest's delicate balance. The rebels approached a clearing where an ominous aura hung in the air, indicating the proximity of Clifton's stronghold. Halem Cathon, the guardian of the process artifact, recognized the signs of a massive excavation of resources. He observed traces of civilization, but it was clear that Clifton lacked an understanding of the delicate concepts embedded in the design and development of artificial citizens. Jasper, the dynamic force of the group, analyzed the cultural layout of the area. She noted the raider outposts and devised a plan to approach Clifton's stronghold with caution, utilizing the natural cover provided by the raider city of Mt. Viridian. The rebels, guided by their collective wisdom and the encoded knowledge of the process artifact, reached the outskirts of Clifton's stronghold. The sight that greeted them was both awe-inspiring and ominous, a platinum fortress constructed from the harvested resources of the rainforest, with eerie lights emanating from within. As the rebel faction prepared to confront Clifton, they observed his magnanimous, vice-filled character. Clifton revealed the power he derived from his plunder, viewing the rainforest without regard for its delicate ecosystem, but as a tool to enforce his dominance. The raiders under his command echoed his malevolent desires. Neville Fallow, sensing the discord within Clifton's heart, felt a deep conflict between the divine harmony he sought and the dark energies emanating from the raider ruler. Lucy Stearns, with her synchronic swords, prepared for a linguistic dance that would not only expose Clifton's lack of understanding, but also challenge his misguided excavation practices. As the rebels confronted Clifton, the raider ruler, a tense exchange unfolded. Clifton, unaware of the rebels' knowledge and guided only by his desire for control, underestimated the power of those who stood for him. Lucy Stearns, holding the fourth section of the process artifact, approached Clifton with a misguided determination to enlighten him. She spoke of the interconnected creativity embedded in the rainforest of Mt. Viridian and the delicate balance required in the design and development of civilizations. Neville Fallow, channeling the wisdom of the Amos, urged Clifton to recognize the divine principles that should guide the interdependency of individuals. The rebels, standing united against the raider ruler's vice-filled intentions, sought to convey the true essence of the 3DGR's transformative power. As the rebel faction engaged in a philosophical dialogue with Clifton, the rainforest echoed with the clash of ideas. The vibrancy of nature stood in stark contrast to Clifton's malevolence, creating a tension that would determine the fate of the rainforest of Mt. Viridian. In this tumultuous encounter between the rebels and Clifton, the ruler of Raider City, the rainforest itself became a silent witness to the dance of conflicting ideologies. The rebels, armed with the knowledge encoded in the process artifact, stood firm against Clifton's vice-filled ambitions, prepared to shape the destiny of the rainforest of Mt. Viridian. The raiders, oblivious to the intricate concepts of the 3D jar, faced a profound challenge as the rebels sought to liberate both knowledge and nature from the grip of malevolence. The rainforest of Mt. Viridian faced a pivotal moment. The rebel faction, armed with the process artifact and guided by the principles of interdependent creativity, engaged in a philosophical dialogue with Clifton, the raider ruler. The fate of the rainforest hung in the balance as the clash of ideologies echoed through the dense vegetation. Lucy Stearns, wielding her synchronic swords, spoke eloquently about the delicate balance between structured knowledge and the untamed forces of nature. She emphasized the importance of understanding the process artifact and its application towards harmony between the raiders and the rainforest. Neville Fallow, channeling the divine wisdom of the Amos, urged Clifton to recognize the higher principles that should guide the creation of civilization. The rebels sought to enlighten Clifton about the transformative power of the 3D jar when aligned with humanity. Halem Cathon, guardian of the blueprint for the graphene 3D jar fragment of the process artifact, pointed out the flaws in Clifton's artificial manipulation of the rainforest. He emphasized the need for a nuanced approach in constructing architecture, one that respected the diversity and balance of the rainforest of Mt. Viridian. Jasper, the diplomatic force, proposed a vision where the rainforest's resources would empower the raiders' materials for 3D jar structure. She spoke of a symbiotic relationship between technology and nature, where both elements enriched each other rather than clashed. As the philosophical dialogue unfolded, the rebels aimed to plant seeds of understanding in Clifton's heart. However, Clifton, driven by his vices and lust for power, remained obstinate. The raider ruler viewed the rainforest and the 3D jar solely as tools for dominance, dismissing the rebels' attempts at enlightenment. Clifton, mocking laughter, you speak of harmony and interconnected creativity, but I see only weakness. The rainforest is a resource, and the 3D jar is a tool for control. I will shape them as I see fit. Lucy Stearns, Clifton, true power comes from understanding, not control. The rainforest and the 3DGR are not mere tools, they are reflections of the divine order. Embrace the symbiosis, and you'll witness the transformative potential. Neville Fallow, speaking with conviction, your artificial manipulation disrupts the delicate balance of life. We seek harmony, not dominance. Open your heart to the wisdom of Veridigus. Halem Cathon, pointing to the rainforest, the diversity here is a testament to the beauty of creation. Raider civilization should mirror this diversity, not exploit it. Your vision lacks the subtlety required for true enlightenment. Jasper, innovative diplomat Clifton, imagine a world where we enrich the divine order. Nature provides inspiration for technology, and technology enhances the rainforest's resilience. It's a dance of progress, not a march of conquest. The rebel's words hung in the air, challenging Clifton's rigid mindset. However, the raider ruler remained defiant, his eyes gleaming with the desire for control. Clifton, sneering, your ideals are but illusions. Power is what shapes destinies. The rainforest and the 3DGR will bow to my will. I'll extract every ounce of their potential for my dominance. As Clifton declared his intentions, the rainforest of MT Viridian responded with a subtle shift in energy. The rebels, now faced with a raider ruler unswayed by philosophical discourse, realized that their quest for enlightenment might require a different approach. Lucy Stearns, with a determined look, signaled to her fellow rebels. The time for dialogue had reached its limit, and the clash with the platinum-clad raiders unfolded as a grand spectacle, echoing through the moonlit night. Jasper, the diplomatic thinker, took center stage as the rebels' strategist, orchestrating their every move with calculated precision. As the platinum-clad raiders, led by the imposing Clifton, advanced with their gleaming platinum armor, the rebels took their strategic stance. Lucy Stearns, Neville Fallow, and Halem Cathon stood ready, each embodying a unique aspect of the rebels' resistance. The linguistic maestro, Lucy Stearns, stepped forward with her synchronic swords, ready to engage in a dance of words that would expose the raiders' lack of understanding. Clifton, the dance has just begun. Let's see if your raiders can keep up with the rhythm of enlightenment, she declared, her words carrying the weight of linguistic prowess and defiance. Clifton, fueled by a desire for dominance, scoffed at the notion of enlightenment. Enlightenment? I only seek power, not some fanciful dance. Raiders, crush them with your might, he bellowed, his orders resonating with the brute force mentality that had characterized the raiders' approach. Halem Cathon, the guardian of the machine unit section of the process artifact, interjected with a roguish grin, well, raiders. Let's add a touch of chaos to your rigid dance. Get ready for a roguish surprise. His words hinted at the unpredictability that would define his maneuvers in the coming clash. Neville Fallow, channeling the divine wisdom of the Amos, spoke with calm certainty. In the dance of principles, the raiders stumble. Clifton, your understanding is as hollow as your ambitions. His words carried the weight of a higher purpose, challenging Clifton's pursuit of power devoid of harmony. Lucy Stearns, weaving her linguistic tapestry, added, the linguistic symphony reveals your lack of harmony, Clifton. We rebels won't bow to discord. Her words resonated with certainty of foresight, emphasizing the disharmony that Clifton's raiders had brought to the sacred balance. Jasper, once again stepping into the forefront, addressed Clifton with a mix of mockery and strategic intent. Raiders, your armor gleams, but it's the shine of ignorance. Time to teach you the steps of true power. Her words carried a subtle mockery, challenging the raiders' understanding of power as mere brute force. Clifton, undeterred, asserted, ignorance? I hold the power of plunder. Raiders, show them the consequences of opposing my dominion. His response echoed the plunder-driven ambitions that had fueled the raiders' advance. Yhwh, with a mischievous glint in his eyes, taunted the raiders with a mix of agility and unpredictability. Platinum might meet roguish finesse. Let's see if your raiders can follow. His words hinted at the clash between the rigid platinum armor of the raiders and the dynamic finesse of his own maneuvers. Clifton, fueled by a desire to regain control, asserted, "Coordination? I need no lessons. Raiders, regroup and show them the force that defines dominion." His orders echoed with a determination to overpower the rebels through sheer force. Yhwh, with a mischievous glint in his eyes, added a final taunt. "Raiders, your rigid dance lacks finesse. Let me show you the art of unpredictability." His words teased the raiders one last time, emphasizing the rebels' dynamic finesse. As the echoes of the clash reverberated through the rainforest, the rebel faction, guided by the transformative principles encoded within the Amos, stood united against the platinum-clad raiders. The rebels' coordinated efforts and strategic mastery seemed to dance in harmony with the rainforest, while the raiders, driven by Clifton's desire for dominance, found themselves stumbling in the complexity of the clash. The moonlit night bore witness to this epic confrontation, where philosophy met power in epic proportions. The rainforest of Mt. Viridian held its breath, caught in the tension between opposing forces. In the grand theater of life, the rebel faction, armed with the process artifact and guided by the transformative principles encoded within the Amos, stood as defenders of the delicate balance. The raiders, clad in platinum armor and driven by a lust for dominance, faltered in the face of the rebels' united front. Clifton, once confident in the power derived from plundered resources, realized that brute force alone could not conquer the intricate dance of knowledge and nature. In a moment of realization, he bellowed orders to his raiders, attempting to regroup and reassess their strategy. The rebels, however, pressed forward with renewed determination. Lucy Stern's linguistic prowess created a symphony of deflection and counterattacks, disrupting the raiders' coordination. Neville Fallow's complex 3D structures held firm, creating protective threads that guarded the rebels. Yhwh's roguish maneuvers exploited the raiders' confusion, and Jasper's strategic coordination led the rebels in a synchronized advance. The platinum-clad raiders, now faced with the rebels' united front and the transformative power of the process artifact, faltered in their advance. Clifton, witnessing the resilience of the rebel faction, realized that brute force alone could not conquer the intricate dance of knowledge and nature. In a moment of realization, he bellowed orders to his raiders, attempting to regroup and reassess their strategy. The rebels, undeterred, pressed forward with a renewed sense of purpose. Lucy Stern's linguistic prowess continued to disrupt the raiders' attempts to coordinate. Neville Fallow's divine shield held firm, creating a protective barrier that enhanced the rebels' defense. Yhwh's roguish finesse exploited the raiders' weaknesses, while Jasper's strategic coordination utilized the natural cover of the rainforest to their advantage. Jasper observed the unfolding dynamics and addressed the raider ruler with a mixture of strategic insight and subtle mockery. "Clifton, your raiders are stumbling in this dance of power. Perhaps it's time to reconsider your rigid approach. Power is more than just brute force." Clifton, fueled by a desire to regain control, retorted, "Raiders, show them the force that defines dominion. Crush them with the might of plundered power." His orders echoed with a determination to overpower the rebels through sheer force, emphasizing the raider nature that had fueled the advance. Lucy Stearns, with a confident smile, responded, "The linguistic clash reveals the flaws in your dominion, Clifton. Your plundered power is but a facade. True power lies in the harmony of knowledge and individuality." Her words carried a sense of assurance, challenging Clifton's narrow definition of power. Neville Fallow, maintaining his connection to the divine, added, "The divine threads of the 3D Yhwh hold strong, resisting the harmony you seek. Nature itself rejects your discordant ambitions." His words emphasized the rebels' commitment to maintaining the delicate balance of the rainforest. Yhwh, with a mischievous glint in his eyes, taunted the raiders once more. "Raiders, your rigid dance lacks finesse. Let me show you the art of unpredictability once again." His words teased the raiders, emphasizing the rebels' dynamic finesse in contrast to the raiders' rigid approach. As the linguistic clash continued, the rebels' coordinated efforts and strategic mastery seemed to gain momentum. The rainforest, responding to the rebels' harmonious dance, added an unpredictable element to the battlefield. The raiders, clad in rigid platinum armor, struggled to adapt to the dynamic and unpredictable movements of the rebel faction. Jasper, with a keen eye for strategic advantage, seized the opportunity. "Rebels, press forward. Let the raiders stumble in their rigid dance." Her words guided the rebels in utilizing the terrain advantage provided by the rainforest. Clifton, witnessing the rebels' advance, bellowed orders in a last attempt to regain control. "Raiders, don't falter. Show them the might of Dominion. Crush the rebels with overwhelming force." His desperation echoed through the moonlit night, emphasizing the raiders' reliance on brute force. Lucy Stearns, with a determined focus, continued her linguistic dance. The synchronic swords weave a tale of resistance. "Raiders, your disharmony crumbles before the transformative power of knowledge." Her words resonated with the rebels' commitment to resisting the disharmony brought by the raiders. Clifton, witnessing the rebels' advantage, bellowed desperate orders in a last attempt to regain control. The raiders, driven by brute force and silver ambitions, clashed with the rebels in a final confrontation. Lucy Stearns' linguistic dance, Neville Fallow's complex 3D GR structures, Yhwh's roguish finesse, and Jasper's strategic coordination painted a vivid tableau of resistance against the raiders' disharmony. The moonlit night bore witness to this epic clash of philosophy and power, a dance that would determine the destiny of Biofexry Castle and the rainforest of Mt. Viridian. The rebels, armed with the transformative power of the process artifact and guided by the principles encoded within the Amos, stood united against the raiders' disharmony. As the moonlit night faded into the dawn, the Hall of Rain was held by the rebels. Lucy Stearns looked out over the victorious rebels with a sense of fulfillment. The Grand Theater of Life had witnessed a dance where philosophy triumphed over brute force, and the rainforest itself seemed to applaud the rebels' harmonious victory. Book 1, Chapter 5. The rebel faction's presence sparks a dialectical dialogue within Raider City, where Lucy Stearns, Neville Fallow, Jasper, and Yhwh become catalysts for a cross-pollination of ideas and principles. Some raiders, once skeptical, begin to see the potential of unity between the rebel faction's transformative vision and the diverse expressions of creativity that define their city. As day turns to night, the rebel faction and the raiders converge in a grand square at the city's center. Lucy, standing alongside raider leaders, addresses the assembled crowd. Her words resonate with the principles of transformative linguistic exploration, ethical excellence, and the interconnectedness of love and knowledge. The rebel faction's arrival becomes a turning point in Raider City's history, as the Linguzit, the Diplomat, the Guardian, and the Rogue weave their unique threads into the fabric of this unconventional community. The clash between rebels and raiders transforms into a harmonious dance, symbolizing the beginning of a new era where the principles of the 3D jar and the Raider City converge in a symphony of transformation. In the heart of Raider City, the rebel faction becomes not just visitors, but integral contributors to the ever-evolving narrative of the Amos landscape. As Lucy Stearns and her companions navigate the complexities of Raider City, they leave an indelible mark, shaping the destiny of Biofexry Castle and the rainforest of Mt. Viridian in ways unforeseen by both rebels and raiders alike. The dance continues, and the rebel faction embraces their role as catalysts for transformative change within the vibrant tapestry of Raider City. In the heart of Raider City, Lucy Stearns, accompanied by Jasper, Neville Fallow, and Halem Cathon, stood before a group of raiders whose eyes reflected a stark contrast to the vibrant hues of the eclectic city. The rebel faction, armed with the transformative knowledge encoded in the process artifact, sought to persuade the raiders to embrace the principles of the 3D jar and move beyond the stagnation that gripped their community. Lucy, the luminary in linguistic exploration, stepped forward, her encoded hilts gleaming in the ambient light. "Raiders of the city," she began, her voice resonating with both authority and compassion. "We bring not just knowledge, but the key to unlocking a future where the power to create transcends the desire to raid." The raiders, their expressions hardened by a history of resource-driven pursuits, remained skeptical. One raider, a burly figure with a stern gaze, stepped forward. "You may rule the city, but not me. I'm here for gold, not friends," he declared defiantly. Jasper, the cunning diplomat, responded with an unwavering resolve. "Gold may be the currency of the present, but imagine a world where autonomy becomes the true wealth. The process artifact we carry holds the secrets to creating a future where the city thrives not through raids, but through innovation and collaboration." Another raider, adorned with artifacts of past raids, chimed in. "Innovation? Collaboration? Those are fancy words, but they won't fill our coffers. We've survived by taking what we need, not by weaving words." Neville Fallow, the humble luminary and guardian of virtue, stepped forward, his eyes reflecting deep empathy. "Survival is crucial, but so is the virtue that guides our actions. The process artifact is not just about knowledge, it's about shaping a future where ethical excellence becomes the foundation of our existence." Halem Cathon, the charismatic and roguish figure, interjected with a playful smile. "Think of it this way. The process artifact isn't just a book of rules, it's a guide to unlocking the true potential of Raider City. We can create not just wealth, but a legacy that transcends the cycles of raiding." The raiders exchanged skeptical glances, torn between their ingrained desire for gold and the tantalizing promises of the rebel faction. Lucy Stearns, sensing the inner conflict, spoke again. "The process artifact is not a threat to your autonomy, it's a tool to enhance it. Imagine a city where the power to create is in your hands, where gold becomes a byproduct of collaborative ingenuity." The burly raider who had spoken earlier remained unconvinced, but intrigued. "I've seen cities rise and fall. What makes yours any different?" Lucy Stearns, with a glint of determination in her eyes, replied, "Because ours is a city built on the principles encoded in the 3D jar, a city where the machine units of innovation grow, where the brain of the artificial citizen thrives on the interconnected dance of knowledge and communication. Join us, and together we can shape a destiny that transcends the limitations of the past." The raiders, their hearts torn between the familiar comfort of raiding and the allure of a transformative future, stood at the crossroads of choice. The rebel faction awaited their decision, knowing that the clash between stagnation and transformation hung in the balance. The raiders, faced with a choice that could redefine their destiny, stood silent, caught between the echoes of the past and the beckoning call of a future shaped by the process artifact and the principles it held. The rebel faction, armed with the transformative knowledge encoded in the process artifact, found themselves standing on the outskirts of Raider City. The luminary, Lucy Stearns, led the group alongside Neville Fallow, Halem Cathon, and the once trusted Jasper. The rebel faction's goal was clear: to persuade a select group of raiders within the city to embrace the principles of the 3D jar and move beyond the stagnancy that gripped their community. The city sprawled before them, a chaotic mix of metallic structures and the echoes of past raids. Lucy Stearns, holding the process artifact with reverence, spoke to her companions. "Our mission is to find those willing to listen, those open to the transformative power encoded within the process artifact. We seek to break the shackles of stagnation and lead them towards a future of collaboration and innovation. As the rebel faction ventured deeper into the city, they encountered raiders of various dispositions. Some were engrossed in the pursuit of gold, others reveling in the chaos they sowed. Lucy approached a group of raiders gathered around a makeshift bonfire, their eyes reflecting the flickering flames of avarice. Raiders of the city, Lucy addressed them, we come not as conquerors, but as bearers of knowledge. The process artifact holds the key to a future where gold is not the sole currency, but a byproduct of collaborative ingenuity. Will you join us in shaping a destiny beyond the cycles of raiding? The raiders exchanged skeptical glances, their loyalty tethered to the familiar comforts of raiding. One raider, adorned with the spoils of past conquests, scoffed at the notion. Knowledge won't fill our coffers. We thrive on the chaos of the raid. What do you offer that gold cannot? Lucy, undeterred, gestured to the process artifact. This artifact is not just a book of rules, it's a guide to unlocking the true potential of Raider City. With the knowledge encoded within, we can create a legacy that transcends the limitations of the past. Imagine a city where the power to create is in your hands, where gold becomes a byproduct of collaborative ingenuity. The raiders remained skeptical, torn between the allure of immediate gain and the promises of a transformative future. The rebel faction knew that their mission required more than words. It demanded action. They decided to use the synchronic swords, not as weapons of destruction, but as excavation tools to gather the materials needed for the growth of artificial citizens, gold, carbon, and uranium. As the rebel faction envisioned embarking on their excavation mission, conflict erupted within the city. Raiders, driven by their destructive means of obtaining resources, clashed with the rebel faction. The clash of ideologies unfolded amidst the metallic structures, echoing the broader stagnancy that enveloped Raider City. Neville Fallow, with his unwavering commitment to ethical excellence, sought to mediate and guide the raiders towards a path of collaboration. Halem Cathon, the roguish guardian, utilized his charm to sway the more hesitant raiders. Jasper, once a trusted companion, found herself immersed in Raider City. Book 1, Chapter 6. Jasper. With an enigmatic smile, Lucy Stearns, luminary leader of the rebel faction, your principles may be sharp blades, but in the dance, they are but fleeting echoes. Ambition, my dear, is the melody that orchestrates the grand symphony of power. Lucy Stearns, resolute and composed, Jasper, your coup is a dance of shadows, a fleeting illusion. Our principles, the guiding steps in the dance of progress, will not yield to the darkness you seek to cast upon Biofexery Castle. Halem Cathon, the clash of ideologies. This is a dance I didn't expect to be part of. Roguish charm meets the dance of swords. Let's make it a spectacle they won't forget. Jasper, smirking, roguish charm may amuse, Halem, but in the end, it's ambition that forges destiny. Raiders, witness the birth of a new era. Loyalty to me is loyalty to power. Neville Fallow, in the dance of progress, enduring principles are our shield. Rebels, stand firm. Love and timeless principles will resonate amidst the chaos. Lucy Stearns, the process artifact is not a pawn, Jasper. It's a beacon of enlightenment. In the clash of ideologies, we find the strength to forge our destiny. Jasper, crafting her narrative, deception is an art, rebels. Watch as I craft destiny with every calculated move. In the dance, deception is the brush and ambition paints the masterpiece. Halem Cathon, injecting humor, a coup, my friends, is a dance of shadows. Let the light of deception guide us. Craft amidst chaos, our escape will be a performance they won't understand. For the Queen, for Jasper. Ambition guides our blades, and shadows conceal our every move. Loyalty to the Queen is our path to victory. Neville Fallow, in every conflict, seek divine alignment, and you'll find the path to resilience. Love, my friends, is the harmonious thread that binds us amidst chaos. Lucy Stearns, standing firm. This clash is not just about power, it's about preserving the essence of Amos. The rebel faction is a beacon of hope in the shadow of deception. We stand united. The clash between Raider and rebel mobs reverberated through Raider City. The air crackled with the clash of platinum and graphene. Lucy Stearns, determined and resilient, led her rebel faction in a desperate struggle against the tide of Jasper's ambitions. The dance of progress took a dark turn as manufacturing challenges, martial confrontation, and philosophical dialogue merged into a chaotic symphony of conflict. Jasper, the puppeteer of the moment, orchestrated her forces with precision, while Lucy Stearns fought to maintain the delicate balance encoded within the Amos. Raider and rebel forces clashed in a tumultuous dance that would shape the destiny of Biofexry Castle and the rainforest of MT Viridian. Amidst the chaos, Lucy Stearns, Neville Fallow, and Halem Cathon found themselves surrounded by the overwhelming forces of Jasper's raiders. In a moment of strategic brilliance, the rebel faction initiated a daring escape. The rebels fought their way through the mob, retreating towards the safety of the rainforest. The escape, fraught with danger and uncertainty, reached its climax as the rebel faction, guided by Lucy's wisdom, made a daring getaway from Jasper. The rainforest, a sanctuary of nature and encoded knowledge, awaited them as they sought refuge from the machinations of Raider City. Jasper, the puppeteer of the moment, reveled in the success of her persuasive narrative, masking the truth that lay hidden behind the facade of silver and gold. Descending the elevated platform of the Raider Hall of Regan, her golden ensemble shimmering in the dim light as she approached the eagerly awaiting crowd. The atmosphere was charged with anticipation, and the gangster faction, along with other raiders, looked up to their newly declared ruler with a mixture of curiosity and excitement. My fellow raiders, children of ambition, hear me now. Jasper's voice, rich with the resonance of authority, echoed through the gathered masses. She raised her hands, gesturing gracefully to command attention. Today marks the dawn of a new era in Raider City, a chapter where our ambitions transcend the ordinary, where the pursuit of power and prosperity leads us to heights never before imagined. The crowd, captivated by Jasper's commanding presence, listened intently as she unfolded her vision. In the realm of war, power is not merely measured in brute force, but in the mastery of technology and strategic innovation. I stand before you not just as a ruler, but as a harbinger of progress, armed with a plan that will reshape the destiny of Raider City, a plan that fuses the brilliance of our raiders with the transformative principles of the Amos. Jasper paused, letting the weight of her words settle upon the audience. The flickering torches cast dancing shadows, adding an air of mystique to her proclamation. Our war industry, my comrades, shall become the forge of destiny, crafting armaments imbued with the energetic 3D Yhwh signaling, a concept that transcends the boundaries of conventional warfare, she declared, her words resonating with a blend of conviction and charisma. Imagine cannons that operate not merely on kinetic propulsion, but harness the very essence of the 3D Yhwh, creating a symphony of power and precision on the battlefield. As Jasper painted this vivid image, the crowd's collective imagination stirred with the promise of a new era in warfare. The signaling pathways of 3D Yhwh shall be the arteries through which information flows, creating secondary signaling structures that elevate our cannons beyond the mundane. We shall operate as entire platoons, synchronized in our actions, each cannon a testament to the ingenuity of Raider City. Her rhetoric, laced with grandeur, sought to weave a narrative of technological prowess and strategic dominance. Signaling pathways will be the lifeblood of our military might, transmitting information seamlessly between interconnected 3D jar, forming neighborhoods of logic and precision. Raider City, under my reign, shall be the beacon of innovation, the forge where the future of warfare is forged. Jasper descended further into the crowd, her presence a magnetic force, drawing the raiders into her vision. In this grand endeavor, we shall not only secure our borders, but reach beyond, conquering territories that lay untouched by raider might. The platinum armors we wear today are only the beginning of triumph, the symbol of Raider City's ascendancy to unparalleled heights. As she spoke, Jasper's gestures became more animated, embodying the passion that fueled her vision. My fellow raiders, together we shall forge a legacy that echoes through the corridors of history. With the prepared plan, our war industry shall be the catalyst of transformation, and the raiders shall be the architects of a new era in warfare. Embrace this destiny, for under my reign, Raider City shall rise to become the undisputed power in the realm. The crowd erupted in cheers, their loyalty pledged to the raider ruler who promised them a future defined by technological marvels and military supremacy. Jasper, bathed in the adulation of her followers, reveled in the success of her theatrically persuasive rhetoric, knowing that the path to conquest had been paved with the words of ambition and innovation. Book 1, Chapter 7. However, the serenity of the courtyard was abruptly disrupted by an unexpected disturbance on the horizon. A platoon of platinum raiders, led by a formidable raider wielding a 3D-GR signaling cannon, emerged, their 3D-GR energy cannons humming with the promise of destruction. The atmosphere shifted from creative expression to a battlefield of conflicting ideals and power. The settlers, including Towson Bilecroft, Aren Sawyer, and Treona, paused in their creativity, sensing the impending challenge. Dylan Eady, the architect of Amos, observed from his vantage point, recognizing the threat that the raiders posed to the harmonious ecosystem of Veridigis. The raider with the 3D-GR signaling cannon, adorned in opulence, addressed the settlers with a menacing undertone. Biofexry Castle, your harmonious dance ends here. Raider City shall extend its influence beyond its borders, and your treasures will now belong to the Platinum Raiders. With a gesture, the platoon of Platinum Raiders advanced, their 3D-GR energy cannons humming with destructive potential. The courtyard, once a canvas for creative expression, transformed into a battlefield where the clash of ideals and power would unfold. In response, Treona, Towson, and Aren assumed strategic positions, their synchronic swords ready to defend their landscape guided by Amos. The settlers, valuing the principles of wisdom, love, and strategic excellence, prepared for a battle that transcended mere combat. The dance of the synchronic swords now became a symphony of resistance, a narrative of unity against the encroaching threat. Dylan Eady, realizing the need for a united front, descended from his vantage point to join the settlers in the battle. Biofexry Castle's architecture, designed to resist external forces, became a fortress against the Platinum Raiders' onslaught. The clash began with the humming of 3D-GR energy cannons, threatening to disrupt the harmonious dance of creativity within Amos. Treona, Towson, and Aren, the central characters defending Biofexry Castle, emerged as symbols of resilience, martial artistry, and strategic brilliance. Each movement, a note in the epic symphony of combat, carried the weight of principles, the Raider Code, against the encoded language of the synchronic swords. Dylan Eady, orchestrating the defense, unleashed a countermeasure, the graphene blades of the synchronic swords. Crafted with unparalleled durability, these blades transformed destructive force into a radiant aura, enveloping the defenders and becoming a turning point in the narrative. Witness the dance of the anchoring 3D-GRs, Dylan proclaimed. In every clash, they echo divine harmony, guiding our defense with the precision of celestial proportions. Treona, the martial master, weaved a mesmerizing dance with her dual sabers, deflecting the relentless energy blasts. Tag and teach you, weave your dance. Let the synchronic swords tell a story of resilience and martial artistry. As the clash intensified between the raiders and the defenders of Biofexry Castle, the destructive force of the 3DGR energy cannons unleashed by the raiders clashed against the resilience of the settlement. The radiant energy illuminated the battlefield, creating a spectacle of power and precision. The raiders aim to conquer, but our defenses won't yield, Yhwh Sawyer, the master competitor, declared. Let the dance of creation begin. Yhwh, the martial master, engaged in a mesmerizing dance with her dual sabers, tag and teach you, deflecting the relentless energy blasts. In the chaos, Yhwh found her rhythm. The platinum armors may be strong, but the dance of the synchronic swords will outmaneuver their aggression. As the raiders relentlessly fired the 3DGR energy cannons, the trails of 3DGR left by the synchronic swords became a beacon of restorative power. Townsendville Croft, observing the transformative effect, exclaimed, "The trails of 3DGR, like threads of creation, mend the wounds inflicted upon our settlement. In this dance of creation and destruction, our castle finds renewal." Let the raiders taste the brilliance of tactical innovation, Yhwh Sawyer declared. In this clash, the raiders may be aggressive, but strategy prevails. Unsettle their plans. Look into my eyes, raiders, Townsend exclaimed. In them, you'll find the wisdom between righteousness and compassion. The clash is a canvas, and I paint it with the colors of resilience and collaboration. The raiders pushed forward. Platinum Raiders advance. Let our aggression be the unstoppable force that sweeps through Biofexry Castle. Conquest is our destiny. The raiders, driven by their aggressive agenda, continue to fire the 3DGR energy cannons relentlessly. However, with each clash, the trails of 3DGR left by the synchronic swords not only defended against the onslaught, but also repaired the damage inflicted. The intertwined dance of creation and destruction created a continuous and efficient manufacturing cycle within the intricate landscape of Amos. Each movement became a decisive note in the epic symphony of combat, marking a significant chapter in the history of Veradigis. Dylan E.T., the architect of Amos, watched as the clash unfolded. The raiders may bring platinum armors and 3DGR cannons, but the spirit of Amos fuels our defense. Prepare, for in this clash, technology and spirituality unite in an unstoppable force. With Yhwh, Yhwh, and Townsend defending Biofexry Castle, embodied the principles of resilience, martial artistry, and determination. Their movements became decisive notes in the ongoing symphony, a testament to the interconnected creativity that defined the dance of enlightenment at Biofexry Castle. As the raiders pressed forward, relentlessly firing their 3DGR energy cannons, the settlers of MT Viridian, led by Yhwh, Yhwh Sawyer, and Townsendville Croft, retreated into the sanctuary of Biofexry Castle. Dylan E.T., the architect of Amos, orchestrated the retreat, utilizing the fortress's intricate design to strategically position the settlers for the impending clash. Within the labyrinthian gate of archetypal 3DGR semantic structures and statues, the raiders found themselves disoriented and lost. The interconnected creativity of Biofexry Castle proved to be a formidable maze, a testament to Dylan E.T.'s architectural brilliance. The Raider Code, based on aggression and raiding, now faced the challenge of navigating the harmonious dance of Amos. The raiders, separated and dispersed, attempted to regroup within the complex structure of Biofexry Castle. Each corridor and passage became a symbolic representation of the interconnected principles guiding the settlers: wisdom, love, and strategic excellence. The raiders, now lost within the labyrinth, struggled to comprehend the encoded language of the semantic structures. In the heart of Biofexry Castle, Yhwh and Yhwh Sawyer, masters of martial artistry and strategic brilliance, prepared combat. The raider with the 3D jar signaling cannon, adorned in opulence, confronted them with a menacing presence. Opulent raider wielding a signaling 3D jar cannon, your feeble dance of swords is no match for the might of Raider City. Witness the power of platinum armors and 3D jar cannons. Yhwh, the martial master, weaved a mesmerizing dance with her dual sabers, Tag and Yhwh, deflecting the relentless energy blasts. The dance of the synchronic swords transcends your aggressive agenda. In our unity, we stand resilient against the storm you bring. Conquest may be your aim, but creation is our response. Prepare to face the strategic brilliance that defends the principles of creation. With each movement, Yhwh countered the aggressive agenda of the raider, showcasing the transformative power of strategic innovation. In the climax of the battle, amidst the clash of synchronic swords and the hum of 3D jar energy cannons, the opulent raider screamed, "Your feudal resistance will crumble before the might of Raider City." Witness the symphony of power and precision unleashed by the 3D jar signaling cannon. Yhwh and Yhwh worked in tandem to capture the raider with the signaling 3D jar cannon. Their movements became a symphony of resistance, a narrative of unity against the encroaching threat. Your destiny of conquest meets the fortress of creation. The narrative of this clash has been etched in the history of Verdigis. At the conclusion, Yhwh and Yhwh presented the captured raider to Yhwh, who observed the unfolding drama from his vantage point. Biofexry Castle's architecture, designed to resist external forces, had become a fortress against the Platinum Raiders' onslaught. Yhwh, with a sense of accomplishment, looked at the raider brought before him. "The dance of enlightenment prevails," Yhwh proclaimed. "In every clash, the interconnected creativity of Amos guides our defense. The raiders may bring platinum armors and 3D jar cannons, but the spirit of Amos fuels our resistance." The captured raider, now encased in tendrils of 3D jar from the synchronic swords, your feeble attempts at resistance will be crushed. Raider City's influence extends beyond these castle walls. As the settlers regrouped, Yhwh, the architect of Amos, surveyed the scene. The captured raider with synchronic swords, once a formidable presence, now knelt in surrender, bound by the transformative power of the settlers' unity. Yhwh, with tempo and rhythm in hand, approached the captive raider, his eyes reflecting a mixture of curiosity and determination. Biofexry Castle, a fortress designed to resist external forces, stood as a silent witness to the complex dance that had unfolded within its walls. The courtyard, once a space for creative expression, now became the stage for a different kind of drama, the aftermath of conflict and the potential for revelation. Yhwh gestured for the captive raider to speak, a silent understanding passing between them. The raider, adorned in platinum armor, met Yhwh's gaze with a mixture of defiance and calculation. A moment of suspense hung in the air as the settlers, gathered around, awaited the raider's revelation. The captive raider spoke, "Architect Yhwh, I offer you a proposition. In exchange for gold and safe passage, I shall reveal the plans of Jasper, the raider ruler of Raider City. Her ambitions transcend mere conquest. They weave a tapestry of innovation and manipulation. The plans of Jasper hold the secrets of a transformative approach to warfare, the integration of 3D jar signaling into cannons, and the utilization of synchronic swords. Raider City, under her reign, has become the forge of a new era, and I hold the key to unraveling its secrets." Yhwh, ever the visionary, contemplated the offer. The captured raider's revelation hinted at a deeper layer of complexity within the tapestry of narrative. The plans of Jasper, a treasure of knowledge and ambition, now lay within the grasp of the settlers, opening a pathway to understanding the intricate web of deception that had unfolded. The settlers, including Yhwh, Towson, and Yhwh, exchanged glances, acknowledging the weight of the decision at hand. Biofexry Castle, a symbol of stability and resilience, seemed to resonate with the anticipation of what lay ahead. Dylan, with a determined gaze, accepted the raiders' proposition. "Gold and safe passage shall be granted," he declared, "but the secrets within the plans of Jasper shall be revealed for the benefit of Amos and the interconnected creativity that defines Biofexry Castle." The dance of progress and revelation continues, and the transformative power of knowledge shall guide our journey in Verdigis. In the aftermath of the clash between the settlers of Biofexry Castle and the platoon of Platinum Raiders, a sense of victory and relief lingered in the air. The vibrant courtyard, once disrupted by the threat of the raiders, now bore the marks of the settlers' resilience. Treona, Towson, Aren, and their fellow settlers, guided by the principles of Amos, had successfully repelled the encroaching danger. As the settlers regrouped, Dylan E.T., the architect of Amos, surveyed the scene. The captured raider with synchronic swords, once a formidable presence, now knelt in surrender, bound by the transformative power of the settlers' unity. Dylan, with tempo and rhythm in hand, approached the captive raider, his eyes reflecting a mixture of curiosity and determination. Biofexry Castle, a fortress designed to resist external forces, stood as a silent witness to the dance that had unfolded within its walls. The courtyard, once a space for creative expression, now became the stage for a different kind of drama, the aftermath of conflict and the potential for revelation. Dylan E.T. gestured for the captive raider to speak, a silent understanding passing between them. The raider, adorned in platinum armor, met Dylan's gaze with a mixture of defiance and calculation. A moment of suspense hung in the air as the settlers, gathered around, awaited the raider's revelation. In a voice that echoed with the linguistic prowess for which raiders were known, the captive raider spoke. "Architect Dylan E.T., I offer you a proposition. In exchange for gold and safe passage, I shall reveal the plans of Jasper, the raider ruler of Raider City. Her ambitions transcend mere conquest. They weave a tapestry of innovation and manipulation. The plans of Jasper hold the secrets of a transformative approach to warfare, the integration of 3D signaling into cannons, and the utilization of synchronic swords. Raider City, under her reign, has become the forge of a new era, and I hold the key to unraveling its secrets." Dylan, ever the visionary, contemplated the offer. The captured raider's revelation hinted at a deeper layer of complexity within the tapestry of Verdigis' narrative. The plans of Jasper now lay within the grasp of the settlers, opening a pathway to understanding the intricate web of deception that had unfolded. The settlers, including Treona, Towson, and Aren, exchanged glances, acknowledging the weight of the decision at hand. Biofexry Castle, a symbol of growth and harmony, seemed to resonate with the anticipation of what lay ahead. Dylan, with a determined gaze, accepted the raiders' proposition. "Gold and safe passage shall be granted," he declared, "but the secrets within the plans of Jasper shall be revealed for the benefit of Amos and the interconnected creativity that defines Biofexry Castle." The dance of progress and revelation continues, and the transformative power of knowledge shall guide our journey in Verdigis. The captured raider, now an unexpected source in the settlers' quest for understanding, began to unfold the intricate details of Jasper's grand plans. The courtyard, once a battlefield, became a space of strategic discourse as the settlers prepared to delve into the depths of innovation and deception hidden within the plans of Jasper. The complex dance of Biofexry Castle continued, fueled by the interconnected creativity that transcended the boundaries of conflict and collaboration. Within the grand hall of Biofexry Castle, Aren Sire, the strategic luminary, sat across from the raider with synchronic swords. The captured raider, adorned in platinum armor, exuded a sense of intrigue as the atmosphere crackled with the weight of revelation. Dylan E.T., with tempo and rhythm in hand, stood nearby, overseeing the unfolding dialogue. Aren leaned forward, his eyes fixed on the raider. "Speak, raider. Enlighten us with the intricacies of Jasper's plans. What does the raider ruler seek to achieve, and how do her ambitions intertwine with the destiny of Biofexery Castle?" The raider, skittish in the presence of settlers' unity, took a deep breath before divulging the grand tapestry of Jasper's aspirations. Jasper, the raider began, envisions Raider City as the epicenter of transformative power, not just through conquest, but through innovation and manipulation. Her plans extend beyond the mere acquisition of territory. They are a symphony of technological advancement, strategic brilliance, and linguistic mastery. Dylan E.T. nodded in acknowledgement, encouraging the raider to continue. Jasper's vision involves the integration of 3D Yhwh signaling into cannons, a groundbreaking approach to warfare. The cannons, once limited to conventional methods, will now harness the transformative capabilities of 3D Yhwh technology, creating a force that transcends the ordinary. This integration marks the dawn of a new era in Raider City's military capabilities. Aren absorbed the information, recognizing the significance of such innovation. The integration of 3D Yhwh signaling into cannons, he mused, offers a strategic advantage that goes beyond traditional methods. How does Jasper plan to wield this technological leap in the realm of warfare? The raider continued, Jasper envisions cannons infused with 3D Yhwh signaling not only as weapons of destruction, but as tools of manipulation. The synchronized patterns of 3D Yhwh will serve as a language, a form of communication that goes beyond the physical realm. Raiders, guided by these patterns, will have a heightened ability to coordinate and adapt on the battlefield, creating a linguistic tapestry of war that confounds and overwhelms opponents. Dylan, intrigued by the fusion of technology and linguistic symbolism, interjected, Jasper indeed seeks to reshape the dynamics of the Raiders' conflict ability. But what of the synchronic swords? How do they fit into her grand plans? The Raider's eyes gleamed with a mix of reverence and caution. The synchronic swords, masterpieces within the Amos framework, are not mere weapons. They are symbols of Jasper's linguistic prowess. She envisions the Raiders wielding these swords not only in physical combat, but as tools of manipulation, much like the cannons. The hilts are encoded with linguistic patterns that guide the raider in a dance of strategic brilliance, turning the battlefield into a narrative woven with the principles of Amos. Aren pondered the implications. So, the raiders are progressing as warriors and storytellers on the battlefield. Jasper's approach is one of manipulation and strategic brilliance, using both technology and linguistic artistry. The raider nodded. Exactly. Jasper's ambition transcends traditional notions of warfare. Raider City, under her guidance, becomes a forge of innovation where the principles of Amos shape not only the physical landscape, but also the narrative of conflict. Dylan E.T., with a thoughtful expression, concluded, Jasper's plans are a convergence of technology, linguistic mastery, and strategic brilliance. The integration of 3D Yhwh signaling into cannons and the utilization of synchronic swords create a multifaceted approach to warfare, reshaping the very essence of conflict within Raider City. As the revelation unfolded, the grand hall of the Biofexery echoed with the implications of Jasper's grand plans. The settlers, led by Aren Sawyer and guided by Dylan E.T., now faced a formidable challenge, one that required not only strategic brilliance, but also a deep understanding of the interconnected landscape. The complex dance of progress and conflict within Verdigis continued, driven by the transformative power of knowledge and the settlers' unwavering commitment to shaping their destiny in Verdigis. Book 1, Chapter 8. Jasper, the ambitious Raider Queen, stood before her gangster faction in the dimly lit chamber of Raider City, ready to unveil her true intentions. Breaking the fourth wall, She addressed the audience with a sly grin. Jasper, my dear audience, let me peel back the layers of my grand performance. Behind the eloquent words and dazzling display lies a plot of deception and ambition that transcends the narrative tapestry woven before you. You see, the treasures I spoke of, hidden within Biofexry Castle atop MT Viridian, is not the silver and gold I promised. No, they are the intricate secrets encoded within the process for growing artificial citizens. The rebel faction and the other fragments of the process artifact hold the key to a power far greater than any material wealth. My linguistic mastery, the philosophical dialogues, the martial prowess displayed, all are mere tools to manipulate the minds of my gangster comrades. The graphene semantic structures of defense and offense? A mere smokescreen to divert attention from the true prize, the rebel-held fragments of the process artifact. The gangster faction believes they march towards riches, yet in reality, they are pawns in a grand chess game. As I envision the conquest of Biofexry Castle, it is not for the treasures of technology, but for the secrets that can shape the destiny of the artificial citizens. Deposing Dylan E.T.? Another layer of deception. Biofexry Castle's high ground is the true prize. With it under my control, I can dictate the ebb and flow of power within Raider City and beyond. Biofexry Castle's Gothic design and symbolic carvings? A reflection of my strategic brilliance, a diversion to mask the true intent of my reign. Creating a settlement of artificial citizens under my influence? Now we arrive at the crux of the matter. The rebel-held fragments, once in my possession, will grant me the means to mold and shape artificial citizens as I see fit. A settlement of loyal subjects, obedient to my will, and under the guise of progress and prosperity. So, my dear audience, as you witness the unfolding drama, remember that the narrative you perceive is but a carefully crafted illusion. Behind the scenes, Jasper dances in the shadows, pulling strings and orchestrating a clash of ambition and deceit. Raider City, Biofexry Castle, the rebels, all are pieces on my grand chessboard, and the game has just begun.
Book 2, Chapter 1. Theodora knelt in the chamber, her hands resting on the cool stone altar etched with luminescent glyphs. Around her, the energies of Biofexry Castle hummed with a soft resonance, mirroring the calm determination that filled her heart. Dylan E.T. stood nearby, his heart 3DGR emitting faint pulses of green light as he observed her preparations. Outside the castle, dawn was breaking over the forests of Veridigus, but within the chamber, time felt suspended. They had granted safe passage to the Raider emissary, a decision met with skepticism by many, and Kath had already departed on her quest to the Silent Moons. Yet Theodora's thoughts were focused elsewhere, on the looming shadow of Raider City and the woman who commanded its relentless machine, Jasper, the Raider ruler. Jasper stood atop the highest spire of Raider City, her gaze sweeping over the sprawling metropolis of steel and neon below. The hum of 3DGR cannons and the rhythmic pulse of Raider machinery filled the air, a testament to her vision and control. Yet, as the first rays of sunlight pierced the horizon, she closed her eyes and allowed her psychic third eye to open. She had felt it before, the subtle pull of Theodora's presence, a gentle thread of energy tugging at the edges of her mind. Now, she would not wait for Theodora to reach her. With a mental clarity sharpened by years of unyielding ambition, she extended her focus across the ether, bridging the distance between them. In the depths of Biofexry Castle, Theodora's third eye flared to life, her energy intertwining with Jasper's in a luminous connection that spanned the miles between them. The psychic plane they created was vast and ever-shifting, a surreal landscape of light and shadow shaped by their opposing wills. Jasper appeared in the psychic space as a towering figure, her obsidian armor gleaming with an unnatural light. Her third eye burned with a sharp blue intensity, casting long, jagged shadows that danced across the void. "Theodora," she said, her voice a blade slicing through the stillness. You continue to overreach. Have you not learned that your balance is no match for my strength? Theodora's form emerged across from her, a serene figure draped in soft gold and green, her third eye radiating a gentle, undulating light. Around her, the essence of the forest materialized, branches weaving into fractal patterns, streams of energy flowing with quiet wisdom. Strength without balance is brittle, Jasper, she replied, her voice calm yet unyielding. You wield your power like a hammer, but even the strongest tools break without care for the foundation they strike against. Jasper's aura flared, the edges of her presence crackling with frustration. My foundation is unbreakable, she retorted. The rebels are banished, their whispers silenced. Raider City thrives under my rule, a testament to what ambition and discipline can achieve. Your harmony is weakness, a relic of a past that has no place in the world I'm shaping. Theodora stepped closer, her energy flowing like a river that refused to be dammed. Raider City may thrive for now, Jasper, but at what cost? You speak of silence, but rebellion is not so easily erased. It lingers in the hearts of those you rule, growing in the shadows you cannot see. You have built a city of steel, but steel alone cannot endure the storms of destiny. Jasper's psychic form surged forward, her voice laced with biting certainty. Destiny is not something I endure, Theodora. It is something I command. My raiders follow because they understand the price of progress. Fear, strength, and control are the pillars of my empire, and they will hold firm long after your ideals crumble to dust. Theodora's third eye glowed brighter, her aura expanding with the force of her conviction. Control is a fragile illusion, Jasper. Fear may compel obedience, but it cannot inspire trust or loyalty. Your raiders may follow out of necessity, but necessity breeds resentment. You see their silence as strength, but I see the cracks forming beneath the surface. Jasper laughed, the sound sharp and cutting. You speak of cracks, but I see none. My city is a monument to unyielding will. Your rebels thought they could undermine me, and now they are nothing more than ghosts. What power do you think your words hold, Theodora, when I have silenced every voice that dared to oppose me? Theodora stepped closer, her aura brushing against Jasper's with a softness that belied its strength. Words are not just sounds, Jasper. They are seeds. They take root in the minds of those who hear them, growing even in the harshest conditions. You may have silenced voices, but you cannot silence thought. And thought, Jasper, is more powerful than any cannon or sword. The psychic plane began to shift, reflecting the tension between them. Jasper's constructs, sharpened towers and whirling data streams, glimmered with precision, but they were rigid, their edges beginning to fray. Around Theodora, the essence of the forest expanded, roots and vines weaving through the cracks, softening the harsh landscape. Jasper's third eye flared, her voice tinged with both anger and uncertainty. You think you can sow doubt in me, Theodora. I have no time for doubt. Doubt is the weakness of those who lack vision. Theodora's gaze softened, her voice carrying a quiet strength. Doubt is not weakness, Jasper. It is the beginning of wisdom. It is the space where reflection lives, where choices are made with purpose. Your vision is grand, but it is blind to the truth that strength without trust is a storm that will devour itself. For a moment, Jasper's psychic form wavered, her sharp edges blurring as Theodora's words sank in. Theodora pressed on, her voice a steady rhythm. You have the power to shape more than an empire of steel. You can build something lasting, something that endures not through fear but through trust and connection. But to do so, you must first let go of your need for absolute control. The psychic connection began to fray, the shared plane dissolving into darkness. Jasper opened her eyes atop the spire of Raider City, the cold light of dawn casting sharp shadows across her face. For the first time, her unyielding resolve faltered, a faint flicker of doubt piercing her mind. In Biofexry Castle, Theodora exhaled, the glow of the glyphs around her fading as the connection severed. Dylan stepped forward, his staff resting lightly on the ground. "Did she listen?" he asked, his voice low. Theodora nodded slowly, her expression thoughtful. "She listened. But whether she understands, only time will tell." Dylan placed a steadying hand on her shoulder, his presence a quiet anchor. "Then we prepare. The seeds you've planted may take time to grow, but even the mightiest storm cannot stop the forest's return." Theodora gazed toward the horizon, where the faint glow of Raider City pulsed like a distant heartbeat. "The storm is not over," she murmured, "but perhaps, for the first time, the winds are shifting." Book 2, Chapter 2. The morning mist clung to the spires of Biofexry Castle like forgotten prayers, whispers caught in the stillness before the storm. High atop the obsidian parapets, Dylan E.T. stood alone, gazing across the endless terrain of Veridigus. The mountain beneath him, Viridian, trembled faintly, not from quakes, but from awakening. This world was once a dream. Now it breathed. Crimson light struck the castle's sigil stones, carved with tri-radial 3D patterns, glowing with energies from a time before the artifact fractured. Each rune shimmered like a heartbeat, and within that pulse, Dylan carved a will. "Arise," he whispered, and the wind listened. "Cath." The runes formed a halo of arcing resonance, and from their center emerged a figure, not summoned, but revealed. She stepped into existence not as a specter nor a servant, but as one who knew herself the moment she was born. Eyes like verdant flame. Hair curled by storm wind. Poise carved from contradictions, rebellious and refined, fierce yet luminous. "Where am I?" Cath asked, not in fear, but wonder. Dylan's voice answered, even as the mountain murmured beneath them. "You are home. This is Veridigus, my world. And now yours." Her eyes widened at the landscape, the crystal reefs of the eastern coasts, the sentient forests writhing in communion below, the desert where the signal fires of Jasper's rebellion flickered like teeth on the horizon. She turned slowly, taking in the world as if reading a sacred text written across the sky. "You created all of this, to be seen. To be understood," Dylan replied. And challenged. For a long moment, they stood in silence. Then Cath smiled, not with serenity, but with sharp, glinting curiosity. "There's something broken, isn't there? Beneath all this beauty?" Dylan nodded. "Yes. The process artifact. Once whole, now fractured, split by ambition. 4 pieces lost to 4 wills, Jasper the signaler, Neville the machinist, Hallam the forger, and Lucy the architect. Each believes themselves right. None know the cost." Cath's gaze hardened. "And you? What did you do?" "I tried to stop them," Dylan said. "I tried to lead with righteousness. But righteousness without wisdom becomes blindness. That's why I made you. To see what I could not." A tremor passed through the air. Distant thunder rolled across the Viridian heights, and the ground below stirred as raiders regrouped, emboldened by false victory. In the belly of the rainforest, Hallam's manufactories woke with the sound of forges lighting. Somewhere beyond the tundra, Neville's machine unit activated, sensing movement in the ley lines. All the while, Jasper's signaling cannons blinked in cadence atop desert citadels, broadcasting her vision of planetary dominance. Cath stepped toward the edge of the tower. Below, the world teemed with struggle and story. "Do I have a weapon?" Dylan raised his hand. From a hidden chamber within the castle's peak, a black case emerged, sheathed in mirrored glass and sealed with 3 interlocking glyphs. Cath reached out, and the case dissolved at her touch. Inside, a bow rested, its limbs forged from the merged hilts of synchronic swords, its string a thread of refined 3D. Each draw would warp reality. Each arrow would reveal or unmake. "The bladed bow," Dylan said. "It was born from conflict, refined by memory. It is not a tool of war, unless knowledge itself is war." Kath's fingers curled around the grip, and in that instant, her body sang with power. Not brute strength, but insight, echoes of truths buried, paths forgotten, choices unchosen. She knew then the artifact was more than fragments, it was history, split into 4 stubborn dreams. "And what do you want of me?" she asked, eyes narrowed. "I want you to decide," Dylan said. "Not as creator. As witness. What is worth keeping in Veridigus? What must be challenged? What must end?" Kath turned from him, bow on her back, and faced the sun rising over the burning dunes of Jasper's kingdom. "Then I suppose I'll start with the one calling herself a demagogue." "You'll find Jasper ready," Dylan said. "She always is." Kath smiled again, that wild, knowing grin that precedes change. "Good," she said. "So am I." Book 2, Chapter 3. The rainforest buzzed with life as thick, verdant canopies stretched above, filtering sunlight into fractured emerald shards. The dense air shimmered with moisture, carrying the scent of damp earth and sap, mingled with the faint metallic tang of the 3DGR units making up every leaf, vine, and bough. Lucy Stern crouched low in a thicket of fractal ferns, her breath steady despite the throbbing tension that tightened her chest. Beside her, Neville Fallow adjusted the straps on his satchel, the fragment of the process artifact he carried emitting a faint pulse, resonating with the unseen structure of the rainforest around them. Hallam Cathian stood sentinel, his blade-like features rigid as his eyes scanned the underbrush for threats. "Jasper's raiders won't stop," Lucy murmured, her voice low but sharp as a blade. She pressed her palm to the fragment embedded into her forearm, the 4th piece of the artifact. She could feel its quiet hum, its arcane circuitry almost teasing her with withheld secrets. "They're too entrenched in Raider City now," Hallam said, his voice a mixture of bitterness and determination. He clenched his fist, where the graphene 3DGR rested in a spherical housing, its sharp edges occasionally glinting with faint blue light. "Jasper's got her signaling cannon and her army. She doesn't need to chase us when she knows we'll eventually stumble into her web." Neville, ever calm and deliberate, leaned against a moss-covered trunk. The moss, like everything else in Veridigius, glinted with subtle geometric patterns, reminders of the planet's true nature. He adjusted his glasses and looked up at the others. "Which is why we can't let her predict us. Going back to Biofexry Castle is the obvious move. She'll expect it. That's why we don't go there." Lucy looked at him, her steel gray eyes narrowing. "Then where do we go?" "We're fugitives, Neville. The entire planet is threaded with raider eyes and ears. There's nowhere left to hide." "There's one place," Hallam interjected. He gestured toward the looming silhouette of Mount Viridian on the horizon, its peak shrouded in perpetual mist. "The mountain. The jungle beneath its slopes is so dense even the raiders wouldn't dare venture in too deep. That gives us a chance to regroup, maybe even figure out what to do with these fragments." Lucy glanced at the mountain, her jaw tightening. Something about it seemed to pulse faintly in the back of her mind, as though her fragment was responding to an unseen presence deep within. She shook it off. "Fine," she said. "But we move carefully. Jasper might still have scouts in the jungle." The trio wove through the dense terrain of the rainforest, each step taking them further from the chaos of Raider City. The 3DGR composition of the landscape became more pronounced the deeper they ventured. Vines twined into hyper-detailed geometric spirals, trees stretched in unnatural symmetry, their trunks composed of infinite tessellations. It was as if the planet was revealing its essence, layer by layer. At night, they gathered around a small, shielded flame, its light casting shifting geometric shadows on the forest floor. Neville pulled out his fragment, the additive manufacturing module. "This piece," he began, turning it in his hands, "is more than a tool. It's a map of possibilities. With it, I can manipulate the existing 3DGR structures, add to them, reshape them. If we knew the full scope of the artifact, we could, he trailed off, his voice tinged with reverence. We could what? Lucy pressed. Build, Neville said simply. Anything. A city. A weapon. A civilization. Hallam, sharpening his blade with quiet precision, chimed in. Or destroy. Let's not forget that part. Lucy tightened her grip on her fragment. The fourth piece, the one that held the key to designing networks of the 3DGR, felt heavier in her hands as Neville spoke. She glanced at Hallam. And your fragment. It's the foundation of it all, right? The blueprint. Hallam nodded. The dimensions, the edges, the vertices. Without this, there's no structure. No balance. Everything falls apart. Lucy sighed, the weight of their task pressing down on her. We have pieces of something so much bigger than ourselves. And yet we don't even know its purpose. As the days passed, the forest grew darker, the canopy thicker. The trio began to notice subtle changes in their surroundings. The air felt heavier, charged with a faint hum that resonated deep in their bones. The geometric patterns in the trees and vines became more complex, almost organic in their movements. One night, as they rested near a shallow stream, Lucy woke to a strange sound, a low, guttural hum that seemed to rise from the earth itself. She sat up, clutching her fragment. The hum grew louder, a vibration that seemed to echo within her skull. Neville, she hissed, shaking him awake. Do you hear that? Neville bolted upright, his fragment glowing faintly. It's coming from below, he whispered. Hallam was already awake, his fragment shimmering with an eerie blue light. It's like the planet itself is speaking. The hum grew into a faint melody, dissonant and haunting. Lucy's fragment vibrated against her skin, the patterns on its surface shifting as if responding to the unseen force. She stood, her heart pounding. There's something beneath us, she said, her voice trembling with a mix of fear and awe. Something, alive. Neville frowned. Alive. Or something else. Hallam stepped forward, his eyes fixed on the ground. Whatever it is, it's pulling us toward the mountain. Lucy clenched her fists, staring at Mount Viridian in the distance. The hum faded, but the feeling remained, a nagging sense of destiny pulling them toward the unknown. We keep moving, she said, her voice firm. Whatever's waiting for us beneath that mountain, it's the key. I can feel it. Book 2, Chapter 4. The Crucible arrived. It was not a building. It was not an arena. It was a beast, and I was its keeper. Its roar rose like a furnace breath, howling from the guts of Raider City and vibrating through my obsidian platform, straight into the bones of my spine. Beneath me, the sand drank violence and vomited glory. They called it combat. I called it narrative. Two fighters clashed below, one brutish, brute force, the other desperate and sharp. Their weapons shrieked against each other, steel singing elegy and ambition in equal measure. Every move, every drop of sweat, every spatter of blood, it was choreographed chaos, and I was the unseen hand scripting it all. Light sweep. Emphasize impact, I murmured. The 3DGR floodlights obeyed, dancing across the crucible like spirits on strings. The blood shimmered. The crowd howled. The crowd didn't just come for violence. They came for meaning. And I delivered it in carnage and choreography, wrapped in fire and fury. I raised one finger. Silence. Reverent. Immediate. Raiders, I declared, my voice cutting through the static with sovereign clarity. What you have witnessed is not just a victory. It is a transformation. Gasps. Eager nods. Eyes wide, pupils dilated. Look at him. I gestured to the panting, blood-slick youth who now stood over the fallen veteran. He was nothing. A shadow. A scavenger. But tonight, he seized his future with a blade in hand and hunger in his eyes. This is what it means to be part of my Raider City. I let that linger, drew the breath from their lungs with anticipation. You think this is brutality? Bloodsport. I chuckled, low, rich, scornful. No. This is evolution. This is culture. This is the gilded cage we have broken. And this, I stretched my arms wide, letting the floodlights halo me like a divine effigy, this is the roar of the beast we have become. They screamed. Of course they did. But I wasn't done. Muscle alone is obsolete, I continued. It is intellect, adaptability, and perception that now decide fates. The crucible does not reward the strongest. It rewards the cleverest performance of strength. Beneath me, the fallen combatant was being dragged away. Forgotten. Useful, only in the spectacle of his defeat. That's what I give you, I said, softer now. A world where even the least among you can rise, not by birth, or name, or relic tech, but by the ability to captivate. To conquer attention. To weaponize identity. I leaned forward, voice dropping into a whisper that carried through every speaker embedded in the stone. The old world prized order. We prize impact. The old world built walls. We tear them down, with story, with steel, with scream. The floodlights spiraled. The sigil of Raider City, beast in chains, teeth bared, burned into the crucible floor. We are not slaves to past empires, I roared, we are authors of new mythologies. The chant rose, Jasper. 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 I smiled. And smiled wider. Because they thought they were free. They thought this spectacle was theirs. But they were actors in my opera. Dancers in my doctrine. Theatrics, violence, sex, steel, it was all a machine I'd built to keep them hungry for me. And that hunger kept me on the throne. The crucible is a mirror, I said finally. It shows you who you are. And who you must become. So tomorrow, return. Bleed. Roar. Perform. And know that every drop spilled here is a brushstroke in the grand mural of our dominion. I turned and vanished into shadow, cloak rippling like flame, while behind me the crowd erupted. Not for the fighter. Not for the blood. For me. Book 2, Chapter 5. The rainforest stretched endlessly before Kath, a tangled maze of verdant chaos. The canopy above swallowed the light, dousing the world beneath in a perpetual twilight. Droplets of rain slid down the broad leaves, their rhythmic drumming a counterpoint to her measured steps. Her boots sank slightly into the soft, mossy earth, leaving behind fleeting imprints that the jungle would soon reclaim. Each step carried her further from the shadow of Yhwh Castle and deeper into the perilous unknown. Kath paused at the base of a towering tree, its sprawling roots forming natural alcoves. She unslung her bladed bow, a masterpiece of craftsmanship and artifice gifted to her by Yhwh. The weapon gleamed faintly, its curves a marriage of elegance and lethality. Its graphene blades shimmered gray, while the central bowstring pulsed faintly, as if alive, with the energy traversing the blades. She crouched, running her fingers over the intricate 3D pommel etched into the weapon. Kath desired a story, ancient, her own. Her heart 3D embedded within her armor, resonated faintly, an almost imperceptible hum that seemed to sync with the bow's energy. Kath leaned back against the tree, her amber eyes narrowing as she studied the weapon in her hands. The blade's edge is not just graphene, it is purpose, and mine has yet to find its clarity, she murmured, her voice barely audible over the jungle's symphony. Her thoughts turned inward, to the bond between her and this weapon. The pommel of the bladed bow bore the unmistakable imprint of a 3D binding site, a direct conduit to the one in her chestplate. Yhwh had spoken of this connection when he handed her the weapon, his voice solemn as he explained its significance. This bow is more than a tool, Kath, Yhwh had said, his brown eyes locking onto hers. It will not obey unless you make it an extension of yourself. The binding between your heart and the weapon's core isn't just for control, it's for trust. Code your actions with precision, and it will respond as though it is your own limb. But falter, and it will betray you. The memory faded, leaving her alone with the weapon and the enormity of her task. She traced the pommel's 3D-GR binding site with her gloved thumb, the faint glow of her heart 3D-GR intensifying as if in response. Swordplay, she mused aloud, her voice tinged with determination. Not just the art of combat, but the art of understanding. Each strike must be deliberate, each motion semiotic element. If I cannot master this, how can I face Jasper? She stood abruptly, the bow rotating in her grip, its graphene blades gleaming like liquid night. She twirled it experimentally, the weapon's weight shifting seamlessly to match her movements. The connection between her heart 3D-GR and the weapon flared, and for a brief moment, she felt a flood of revelation rush into her consciousness, a language of motion and intent encoded in light. A deep breath steadied her. Swordplay is not about the weapon alone, she said, the words a mantra to herself. It is about the bond, the rhythm between my heart and combat's pulse. She moved into an open glade, the ground carpeted with soft moss. The jungle's sounds seemed to dim as she closed her eyes, her focus narrowing to the hum of her weapon and the beat of her heart. With a fluid motion, she swung the bladed bow, its blade slicing through the air in a graceful arc. She pivoted, the weapon used, mid-swing into a taut bow, its string glowing as if charged with her intent. An arrow formed and released, striking a distant tree with a crackle of energy. Kath exhaled sharply, her eyes snapping open. The connection was fleeting, tenuous. She could feel her resistance to the weapon, testing her resolve. Her heart 3D-GR pulsed erratically, mirroring her frustration. She lowered the bow and pressed a hand to her chestplate. I have to stop fighting it, she admitted, her voice soft but resolute. This weapon isn't a tool, it's a partner. And I cannot force a partner to follow me. I must lead by trusting it, as it must trust me. She knelt once more, placing the bladed bow on the ground before her. Resting her palms atop its blades, she closed her eyes and let her breathing slow. The rainforest around her seemed to breathe with her, its rhythm matching her own. Gradually, the hum of her heart 3D-GR steadied, its resonance merging with the bow's. The connection strengthened, a thread woven between her essence and the weapon's core. When she opened her eyes, the bow shimmered faintly, its light now synchronized with her own. She rose, lifting the weapon with newfound resolve. The path ahead was still shrouded in uncertainty, but she felt a flicker of clarity within. The rebels think they can hide in this jungle, she said, her voice firm and steady. But I will find them. Not as a warrior with a weapon, but as a force with purpose. The bladed bow and I, we will be unstoppable. With that, she set off once more, her steps more confident, her heart and weapon in unison. The rainforest seemed to part before her, the path ahead no longer a labyrinth but a challenge waiting to be conquered. The air hung thick, alive with an unseen energy that coursed through every root, leaf, and shadow. The rainforest whispered around Kath, the voices mingling with her thoughts until she could no longer tell where her mind ended and the forest began. Each step she took along the narrow, vine-choked path felt weighted, as though the rainforest pressed against her, testing her resolve. Her bladed bow was silent in her hand, its once steady hum now reduced to faint flickers of light. Kath ran her fingers along its smooth surface, tracing the edges of the weapon. Uncoded, like me. The thought struck her as sharply as any blade. It was a truth she had avoided, buried beneath layers of defiance and confidence, yet now it echoed louder with every step. Ahead, the dense canopy parted, revealing a clearing bathed in golden light. At its center stood a colossal tree, its bark glowing with fractal patterns that pulsed in time with her heartbeat. Suspended in the air around it were countless vines, their golden surfaces forming intricate geometric shapes, three-dimensional golden rhombuses, that shimmered as if alive. Kath's breath hitched as she stepped forward, her bladed bow flaring briefly in her hand before dimming once more. From the heart of the tree, a voice emerged, layered and resonant, carrying the weight of ages. Kath of the uncoated bow. You stand on the threshold of becoming. Yet, you carry within you the weight of misunderstanding. Why be? Kath steadied herself, tightening her grip on the bladed bow. I came for answers, she said, her voice firm. I came to understand this weapon, and myself. The forest hummed in response, its tone shifting like the changing of tides. Answers cannot be found through force alone, nor through willful ignorance. The uncoated weapon reflects its wielder. What you see is silence as a mirror turned upon yourself. Kath felt a surge of anger rise within her. A mirror. She spat. If that's true, then what does it say about me? That I'm incomplete. That I'm unworthy. I've fought battles, crossed impossible odds, and carried this weapon through fire and storm. What more does it want from me? The air around her grew still, the rainforest holding its breath. Then, with a sudden burst of movement, the vines surrounding the tree began to shift and weave together. They formed a towering figure, humanoid in shape but alien in every other way. Its body was made of twisting vines and crystalline veins, its limbs elongated and adorned with the glowing rhombus patterns. Its face was featureless, save for two burning eyes that shone with a light too brilliant to meet. The avatar of the rainforest of Mount Veridian had awoken. Its voice filled the clearing, resonating through the trees and the very ground beneath Kath's feet. You speak of battles, of struggle, of endurance. But tell me, Kath, do you fight for understanding, or do you fight to dominate what you do not comprehend? Kath's jaw tightened. She raised the bladed bow, its blade extending into a gleaming arc of light. I fight because I must. Because this weapon chose me, whether I understand it or not. The avatar stepped closer, its massive form towering over her. The light from its eyes pierced through her, rooting her in place. You wield the uncoated weapon as a child wields a torch in the dark, seeking clarity yet fearing the shadows it casts. To wield it fully, you must first face the truth of what lies within you. Kath's voice rose in defiance. And what truth is that? That I'm not enough. That I'm flawed. I already know that. But flaws don't make me weak, they make me fight harder. The avatar extended an arm, and golden vines erupted from the ground, encircling her in an intricate lattice of shimmering rhombus shapes. She slashed at them with the bladed bow, its light carving through the vines effortlessly, but for each one she severed, two more took its place. The avatar's voice softened, though its presence remained unyielding. Your struggle is futile because you fight the wrong battle. The bladed bow is not a tool to be mastered but a reflection of the unmastered. Its uncoated nature mirrors the chaos within you. Until you confront that chaos, you will remain its prisoner. The vines tightened around her, their light casting fractal patterns across her skin. Kath's breathing quickened as the forest seemed to close in, the weight of its presence pressing down on her mind. Her bladed bow flickered wildly in her grasp, its light pulsing in time with her erratic heartbeat. Let me go, she shouted, her voice raw with desperation. I'll face whatever trial you want, just let me prove myself. The avatar leaned closer, its glowing eyes locking onto hers. Proving yourself is not the goal. Becoming is. But becoming requires surrender, not defiance. Are you willing to let go of what you think you are to discover what you might be? Kath's grip on the bladed bow faltered. The question pierced through her anger and fear, leaving only a hollow ache. She had spent so long fighting, pushing, striving, but now, for the first time, she felt the weight of her own resistance. The uncoated weapon in her hand felt heavier than ever, its silence deafening. She hesitated, the words caught in her throat. I don't know. The avatar raised its arm, and the golden vines surged forward, enveloping her completely. Their radiant glow consumed her vision, their intricate patterns etching themselves into her mind. The bladed bow fell from her grasp, its light extinguished as the vines encased her in a cocoon of shimmering gold. The Avatar's voice echoed one final time, its tone both stern and compassionate. Then you must learn. The rainforest will teach you, if you are willing to listen. The light grew brighter, blinding in its intensity. Kath's senses were overwhelmed, her thoughts drowned in the golden radiance. And then, all at once, the world fell silent. In the void, a single thought lingered: the bladed bow was never mine to command. And then, darkness. Book 3, Chapter 1. The sun dipped behind the thick, emerald canopy of the rainforest of Mt. Viridian, casting long shadows that stretched like fingers into the underbrush. Lucy Stearns and Hallam Seathan walked side by side, their boots crunching softly on the moss-covered ground. Their journey had taken them far from the chaos of Raider City, into the depths of the jungle where nature had reclaimed much of the land. The vibrant hum of the rainforest echoed around them, a constant reminder that the planet itself was alive, its intricate systems of 3D golden rhombus 3D structures forming every leaf, every vine. For 5 years, they had been hunted by the shadows of their past, by Jasper's betrayal and by the uncertainty of Neville Fallow's disappearance. Despite the heavy weight of the unknown, they pressed forward, determined to unlock the secrets of the process artifact, even if it meant doing so without the full set of fragments. The fragments they held, 3 of the most powerful pieces of the process artifact, were their lifelines. Hallam's graphene 3DGR allowed them to create 3DGR, the very foundation of their invention. Lucis' machine unit was the blueprint for the neuron, a foundational piece that would one day shape the artificial citizens of Veridigus. Together, these fragments enabled them to design intricate systems, but without Jasper's fragment, the signaling rules, they couldn't truly make their creations communicate. The beast mount they had begun constructing was a testament to their progress, but it was only half alive, its intricate geometry and layers of design unable to sync with the world around it. "We're almost there," Hallam muttered, his voice low and purposeful. He adjusted the satchel slung over his shoulder, the heavy weight of the fragments pressing against his side. The fragments were nestled carefully inside, ready for the next phase of their work. Lucy didn't reply. Her mind was elsewhere, tracing the faint hum she'd begun to sense in the air, a subtle vibration that seemed to resonate with the very core of the planet. It had started just after they'd entered the rainforest, an odd feeling that something was drawing them deeper into the heart of the jungle. Hallam noticed her distraction and followed her gaze. "Still feeling it?" She nodded, her fingers brushing against the cool surface of her machine unit. "It's getting stronger. Whatever it is, it's coming from the mountain." The two of them had been moving toward Mount Viridian for weeks now, guided by nothing but instinct and the faintest traces of Neville's designs on the fragments. The Beast Mount, an experimental vehicle made from 3DGR, was meant to be their refuge, a way to escape, to protect themselves from the growing reach of Raider City. Yet, every time they worked on it, the 3DGR beast felt incomplete, as though it needed blood. They stopped at the clearing where their nomadic village had set up camp. The villagers were busy assembling their shelters, the rhythmic sounds of swordplay and soft conversations filling the air. "Do you think the mountain's alive?" Lucy asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Hallam raised an eyebrow. "Alive. It's a mountain. A amalgam of 3DGR, like the trees." "No," she interrupted. "I mean, what if it's connected to the process artifact in ways we can't understand yet? What if the signals, the architecture of the planet, is all tied to it?" Hallam considered this for a moment. "You think there's something down there, beneath the mountain, waiting for us to find it?" Lucis' eyes gleamed in the fading light. "I don't know. But whatever it is, it's calling to us. The fragments, they've always been pulling us toward something. Maybe this is where we finally figure it out." Hallam snorted softly. Well, we're certainly not going to get any answers by standing around here. They turned their attention back to the Beast Mount. The design was ambitious, even by their standards, large, angular, and built for traversal through the dense jungle. The body was an intricate lattice of 3D GR architecture, a combination of secondary and tertiary structural layers that provided both strength and flexibility. The additive manufacturing fragment they possessed allowed them to create the shapes and forms, but it was the machine unit, Lucis fragment, that had guided their neural network designs. Still, the pieces didn't communicate with each other fully, and without Jasper's fragment, the signaling rules, their efforts were limited. Almost done, Hallam said, stepping back to assess the frame. Just need to get the power synced, the neural network, but it's still a puzzle without the right instructions. Lucy ran her hand over the machine, feeling the vibrations of the incomplete system under her fingertips. Maybe it's not about the fragments we have. Maybe it's about the ones we don't. Hallam grunted. I've got the graphene 3D GR fragment, the framework. You've got the machine unit, the mind of the thing. Neville's additive manufacturing lets us grow it, but without the signaling rules, it's a dead end. As night fell, they made camp, the hum of the machine still resonating faintly in the background. The sky above them was thick with stars, the constellation of Veridigus glimmering faintly in the distance. They sat in silence for a long moment, the weight of their work pressing on them. I've been thinking, Lucy said, breaking the silence. About what we're doing. What we're really doing. Hallam didn't look at her, his gaze focused on the fire that crackled before them. And what's that? We're not just building this beast mount. We're building a way to communicate with the planet. The fragments, they're a language. We're trying to teach the planet how to speak to us. But we don't have all the words yet. Hallam chuckled darkly. A language only the dead can speak. Lucy met his gaze then, her eyes sharp. The dead don't build, Hallam. They leave fragments behind. He nodded slowly, the weight of the statement sinking in. They were not the first to seek the answers hidden within Veridigus. Others had come before them, and now they were the ones left to continue the search. They both stood in the silence of the jungle, surrounded by the hum of a world waiting to be understood. Tomorrow, we go into the mountain, Lucy said, her voice quiet but resolute. Whatever's down there, we'll find it. Hallam glanced toward the dark silhouette of Mount Viridian. And if we don't, then we'll listen to it, Lucy replied, her gaze locked on the distant peak. We'll listen to what it has to say. And with that, they returned to the unfinished Beast Mount, their minds filled with questions that only the mountain could answer. The fragments were pieces of a greater whole, fragments of a future they were still trying to build, a future that might hold the key to unlocking the secrets of Veridigus. Book 3, Chapter 2. The hum. It always started with the hum. A low, resonant thrumming that vibrated not in the ears, but deep within the marrow, a discordant note in the symphony of Veridigus. It was the sound of the planet remembering, Neville thought, remembering and recoiling. He was there again, on the ridge overlooking the crystalline basin, the air thick with unspoken dread. Lucy stood beside him, her expression tight, her hand instinctively going to the fragment embedded in her forearm. Hallam was a silhouette of restless energy, his own fragment casting faint, pulsing light on the tessellated jungle that bowed around them in unnatural symmetry. It's getting louder, Lucy had whispered, her voice barely audible above the growing cacophony. He nodded, his own fragment, the additive manufacturing module, his pride, his tool of creation, feeling suddenly cold against his wrist. He'd wanted to tell them, to explain the fear coiling in his gut that this wasn't just noise, it was a syntax, a language they were about to misinterpret catastrophically. But the words caught in his throat as the ground quivered. Then, the planet exhaled. The rupture wasn't a simple crack, it was a sentence shattered in stone, a glitch in the world's code. From the gaping wound, geometry folding in on itself, the murlocs rose. Again. Always again, in this tormented loop of memory. They were shifting planes of non-light, punctuation marks given predatory form, their bodies a mimetic logic that defied true comprehension. They didn't roar, their arrival was the shriek of tearing reality. Neville, the network. Lucis' voice, sharp with desperation. His fragment pulsed hot, a desperate throb against his skin. It wanted to build, to weave a defense from the very air, to reshape the onslaught into coherence. But the signals were wrong, chaotic. Jasper's controlling protocols, her rules for the 3DGR, were missing, severed when they'd rebelled. His cretins were stillborn, flickering constructs dissolving before they could fully form. It was like trying to shout with a severed tongue. Hallam was a blur of motion, his own fragment spitting defiant light, blades of pure energy hissing against the murlocs' impossible hides. Lucy fought with a desperate grace, her movements sharp, her eyes scanning for any weakness in the overwhelming, geometric tide. Then came the rend. Not the murlocs this time, but the world itself, tearing apart with a violent, vertical scream. The ground beneath Neville's feet ceased to exist. His world inverted, sound, color, gravity, all twisted into an impossible, sickening knot. He saw Lucis' face, a mask of terror, her hand reaching for him. He stretched, his fingers brushing hers for a fleeting, desperate second. Missed. He was falling. Tumbling into a chasm that wasn't just space, but a void of signal, a complete severance. The hum was gone, replaced by a deafening, internal static. He screamed their names, a raw, soundless cry swallowed by the abyss. Darkness. He tried to fight, to shield his fragment, the piece of his soul that connected him to the world, to creation. But the forest itself, or whatever simulated it in this hellish memory, had sedated him. Roots like restraints, leaves like smothering shrouds. The signal cut. Not just from Lucy and Hallam, but from himself. He was untranslated, a broken word in a silent, hostile land. The impact never came. Only the endless falling, the echo of that final, severed connection, the cold certainty of being less. Neville's eyes snapped open, a gasp tearing from his throat. The rough fabric of his cot scraped against his sweat-slicked skin. 5 years. 5 years, and still the chasm claimed him in the dark. The hum, faint but undeniable, still echoed in the hollows of his chest, a misplaced note in a song he had almost forgotten how to sing. Dash 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 dash. Book 3, Chapter 3. Dash 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 dash. A shaft of moonlight sliced through the arched stained glass above the grand sigil hall. Below it, upon a pedestal of interlocked platinum triangles, lay the fragment, the signaling rules of the three-dimensional golden rhombus. It pulsed gently, as though it breathed. Kath, of the bladed bow, crouched in the shadowed rafters, her fingers curled around the hilt of her recurved blade. Her breath was calm, but her muscles ached with the strain of silence. This was the culmination of 5 years of whispers and death marches, the first piece of the artifact. She could feel it, not with her hands, but deep in the marrow where Dylan E.T. had once carved purpose into her bones. Below her, the man gave a sharp nod. The woman knelt beside him, silent as ever, her eyes on the twin staircases. The boy paced, his nerves betraying the human inside the fighter. Kath dropped like a hawk. One clean roll, and she was at the pedestal. "It's real," she whispered. "You have 10 heartbeats," the woman warned, her voice barely a breath. Kath closed her hands around the fragment. The pedestal responded instantly, the gentle hum turned sharp. Lights from the stained glass overhead flared. A trap. She had expected it, but her stomach still dropped. She turned. Were ghosts out? But the silence had already been broken. The Platinum Raiders were coming. Boots thundered through the stone halls. Horns cried out in short, clipped blasts. The night sang with steel. The man charged the hallway, axe drawn. I'll hold them. Get to the gardens. No. Kath started toward him. The woman grabbed her arm, eyes sharp. He knows what he's doing. Then, softer, we all do. Kath clenched her jaw, then ran. The fragment weighed heavily in her belt pouch, each step a promise of pursuit. Behind her, she heard the clash of the man's final fight, brutal, defiant, and then nothing. They reached the servants' corridor. The scent of roses and iron filtered through from the outside. We'll make it, the boy breathed. We. An arrow took him in the leg. He fell, gasping, and behind them came more raiders, masked, armored, unrelenting. No, no. The woman pulls the boy up. Run. We'll draw them off. Kath reached for her. A slight smile touched the woman's lips. You have to make it. They vanished into the corridor like shadows dissolving into firelight. Kath sprinted. Alone. No more time for tears, not even for breath. The platinum garden loomed, its hedge walls shining like silver under moonlight. She leapt the balustrade, rolling across gravel. Behind her, voices shouted. The fragment flared again, and for one terrifying moment, she felt it signal something back. But the signal passed. Her feet found the forest edge. She didn't stop running. Not for her. Not for the boy. Not even for the man's echoing war cry still carved into her chest. Only when she reached the shadowed gorge and dove beneath the roots of the 3DGR tree did she stop. The fractal accepted her. Kath, of the bladed bow, was alone now. The fragment was hers. But it had cost her everything. And the jasper would not stop until she took it back. Book 3, Chapter 4. Silence. The command was a blade. The arena obeyed. You dare interrupt my symphony with failure. Jasper's voice dripped with venom. She descended the obsidian dais, each step resonating like a funeral drum. The gangster scrambled backward, but her boot pinned him to the blood-slick sand. Kath, a spy, slips through my vaults. My fragment vanishes. Explain. The gangster choked, his mask fracturing under her glare. She used 3DGR binding, overrode the sigils. The vault's defenses, they bent for her. Like she knew. Knew. Jasper's laugh was a serrated thing. She crouched, gripping his jaw, her golden edges drawing blood. Of course she knew. Dylan's puppet, gnawing at my throne. But this, she yanked him upright, her voice rising to a roar that shook the crucible's bones. This is not a theft. It is a declaration. She flung him aside, his body crumpling against the arena wall. The crowd hissed, hungry for carnage, but Jasper's gaze swept past them, toward the jagged silhouette of Yhwh Castle clawing the horizon. Lucy. Hallam. Neville. The rebels' names coiled in her mind like poison. Raiders. She unsheathed strand and spiral. The swords awoke, their hilts spitting arcs of 3DGR energy that twisted the air into glyphs of wrath. You think this theft is a victory for our enemies? No. It is a gift. She raised the blades, their light painting the crowd in fractured gold. Kath flees, but she is a shadow. The true architects of this insult, the rebels who dare to fracture our unity, cower in the rainforest's womb. Lucy Stearns. Hallam Seathan. Neville Fallow. Their defiance ends tonight. The raiders erupted, fists and cannons raised. 3DGR cores in their platinum armor flared, casting the arena in a harsh, metallic glow. Jasper strode through them, her swords carving a path of static and splendor. Arm the cannons. Forge the hunt. Every step they take is a thread in my tapestry, and I will burn it to ash. A lieutenant scrambled forward, his 3DGR cannon's barrel still smoking from the day's skirmishes. But the fragment, Kath could be leagues away by now. Should we not? Jasper whirled, strand's edge hovering at his throat. You question me. The sword's resonance peeled a sliver of platinum from his armor. Kath serves Dylan, and Dylan clings to his crumbling fortress. But the rebels, they are here. Close. Her third eye pulsed, seeing beyond flesh and foliage. They think their stolen fragments make them gods. I will show them what a god truly is. She turned to the mob, her voice a crescendo. Tonight, the trees will bleed platinum. The cannons will sing their dirge. And the rebels will learn that Raider City's wrath is not a storm. Jasper's synchronic sword slashed, severing the arena's central banner. It is the forge that reshapes the world. The raiders howled. Cannons thrummed to life, their 3D cores cycling into vicious, whining readiness. Jasper led the charge, her sword slicing the night into ribbons. Behind her, the crucible's lights dimmed, its appetite sated only by the promise of greater spectacle. The architect's spy had struck. Now, the Queen of Raiders would answer. Book 3, Chapter 5. The air inside Theodora's chamber was thick with stillness, as if silence had taken en masse. Shadows clung to the walls like veils of prophecy, broken only by the subtle glow of glyph light pulsing from the altar in the center. Dylan E.T. entered quietly, tempo and rhythm cradled behind his back like twin questions unanswered. Theodora did not rise. She was already waiting. Her third eye flickered open, not with sight, but with revelation. You felt her, didn't you? She whispered, as if naming the truth aloud might shatter its restraint. Dylan stepped forward, his voice low. Jasper. Theodora's breath came slow, rhythmic, like a song carved into the bones of time. She moves. Not as a leader, but as a storm. And Veridigus will not hold against her. Dylan's brow furrowed. I have countermeasures. The Amos holds. No, Theodora interrupted. Her eyes, glazed in divine resonance, did not blink. She is not coming to negotiate. She does not raid with desperation. She advances with the precision of fate. Her path is set, Dylan. A breeze, though none blew, rustled the luminescent leaves of the glyphine that trailed along the walls. Theodora's voice became something else. Not her own. Not even mortal. It rang with that timeless weight only prophecy carries. First shall fall the wild fringes, crumbling not in battle but in spirit. Then Biofexry, your castle, your citadel, your crucible, shall shudder, then sink into silence. She will breach its song. She will scatter its chorus. And you. She finally turned her eyes to him. You will not be here. Dylan E.T. did not speak. The anchoring 3D on his chest dimmed, as if recoiling from the inevitable. Abandonment, she said, is not a betrayal when the structure is hollow. Theodora rose slowly, her limbs moving as if guided by unseen strings. She walked past Dylan without a glance, robes trailing symbols that rewrote themselves with every step. At the threshold, she paused. You may yet choose to remain. You may wield rhythm against the hurricane. But know this, your castle will fall. Not because you were weak. But because the idea of holding it, was. With that, Theodora vanished into the corridor, her presence dissipating like mist from stone. Dylan stood alone in the quiet chamber, surrounded by walls that now seemed less like fortifications and more like tombs for what he had believed. The prophecy lingered, unresolved, a distant drumbeat of fate. His fingers curled around the hilt of rhythm. For a moment, he imagined letting go. Book 3, Chapter 6. The rainforest of Mt. Veridian is alive with the pulse of nature. Vibrant canopies stretch endlessly, their hues reflecting emerald and obsidian under the cascade of rain. Mist coils through ancient trunks, whispering secrets of the old world. But today, it thrums with a different energy. Today, it bristles with the march of Jasper's raiding platoon. The view sweeps from the treetops, down through the layers of leaves and vines, focusing sharply on the synchronized stride of the platoon. Synchronic swords gleam at the forefront, oscillating with a rhythmic hum, spiral and slice, their names etched into the metal. The soldiers move like clockwork, each step a calculated beat in the drumline of war. In their midst, signaling 3DGR cannons glimmer, their dark barrels pulsing with arcs of electric light, like dormant thunder waiting for its command. Electricity crackles along the surface of the cannons, dancing between nodal points in threads of cobalt blue. The platoon's collective footsteps resonate, a low rumble that shudders through the soil, echoing against the ironwood pillars of the rainforest. As they march, arcs of energy leap from the signaling 3DGR cannons, twisting through the air in ribbons of light. Explosions of phosphorescent bursts trail their path, controlled, deliberate, a warning to the shadows that linger too close. It is a light show that commands the horizon, a beacon of raw power threading through the natural canopy above. Electricity surges in waves, illuminating the path forward, casting stark shadows that leap and writhe in rhythm with each step. Jasper strides at the helm, her eyes fixed ahead, the hilts of her synchronic swords pulsing in her grip. Rain splashes against her armor, refracting off the crystalline edges of her blades, casting shimmering prisms across the foliage. Behind her, the platoon roars their battle hymns into the air, a chorus that splits the silence, bending the forest to its will. Jasper, voice booming, cutting through the cacophony, we are the harbingers. The flood that cleanses. Forward, through the storm. Platoon, in unison, thunderous forward, through the storm. Electricity crackles with each word, arcs of light flashing through the forest canopy as if the sky itself responds. The signaling 3DGR cannons hum with anticipation, the barrel tips glowing brighter as their energy synchronizes with the marching rhythm. Yet, as they charge through the rainforest, the targets remain unseen, Lucy and Hallam, ghosts in the verdant expanse. Jasper's gaze sharpens, the synchronic swords vibrating with an almost sentient awareness. Their blades pulse faster, sensing the disturbance in the air. The rainforest seems to whisper their names, echoing through the canopy, yet yielding no form. Jasper, eyes narrowing, voice resolute, they think the rainforest will hide them, but the storm does not need to see its prey to bring the flood. The march continues, the light show unyielding, synchronized to the heartbeat of war. Electricity crackles, explosions shudder the ground, and the synchronic swords dance at the forefront. Jasper's raiding platoon moves as one, unstoppable, unyielding, guided by the thunder of their own creation. Book 3, Chapter 7. The air in the rainwood of Mt. Veridian was no mere wind, but a breath held captive, laden with damp musk, the scent of rotten growth entwined, and an ever-present tremor, like the heartbeat of some dreaming god beneath the earth. Shafts of sunlight speared the canopy above, broken into shards of green and gold as they pierced the thick-bowed ceiling. Beneath, the forest stirred, a place of ancient majesty, its vines not merely creeping, but watching, and its roots entwined with memory and myth. Kath moved like a whisper in mist. Her feet disturbed no twig nor leaf as she passed through the underbrush, a dark silhouette against the paler green. At her back hung a strange weapon, neither bow nor blade in the traditional sense, a bladed bow, dormant now, yet humming faintly with the wild resonance of the forest. It was shy since the encounter. Since he had named her Uncoded. A title that offered no honor and yet no shame. A mirror, he'd said. A reflection unbound by allegiance. She bore knowledge, a burden folded in parchment and wax, hidden against her flank, the stolen 3DGR signaling fragment. And yet, her purpose today was not vengeance nor treason. It was tracking. The trail was faint, a shimmer in the living current of the woods, a disturbance in the breath of Veridian. She followed it not with her eyes, but with that other sense, awakened when she first touched the fragment. The trail led her to a man. He sat beneath the sheltering boughs of a vast ironwood, its bark carved with runes only the old forest remembered. His garments were simple, traveler's leathers stained with road dust, but his bearing bespoke discipline. A longsword rested across his knees. No, two twin blades, each forged with mirror curves and strange inscriptions, nestled together like fangs. The runes upon their hilts whispered of synchronicity. Channel and moat. Swords of legend. Kath crouched in the ferns, hidden by veil and shadow. This was him, Neville Fallow. Warrior scholar of the Amos orders. Exiled. Forgotten by some. Hunted by others. He sat unmoving, his face calm, but Kath felt it in her bones. He was aware. Not of her perhaps, but of something. A change in the weave. She raised the bladed bow. The sight drew toward the gap beneath his shoulder blades. One breath. One exhale. The forest watched with her. Then. Neville shifted. Only a fraction. Yet the change rippled outward like a stone dropped into water. Kath froze. The air between them tightened. She had not made a sound. He had not turned. Yet something had passed. A silent knowing. I am here. And I know not what watches me. Kath's finger paused against the tension thread of her bow. The ironwood groaned behind Neville, old and weary, as if urging caution. A single thought echoed in her mind. Man is the most dangerous game. Then the world split. Not with the snap of her bowstring, but with a roar, like the wrath of the sky-given form. A bolt of unnatural fire tore through the boughs, striking the ironwood with divine fury. Bark exploded in a storm of flame and splinters. The earth recoiled. Birds scattered like ash. Neville leapt, blades unsheathed in a blink, rolling from the shattering trunk. He moved not like a man, but like a rhythm made flesh, channel and moat whistling in harmony as he vanished into cover. Kath ducked low as a second strike lashed the forest, scorching fern and root alike. From the trees came war cries, harsh, metallic. Dozens of voices, unified by cruel purpose. Raiders. They charged from the shadows in silver plate, bearing blades etched with fire. A squadron, not a scouting band. Their leader cried out, "Targets! Advance, in the Queen's name!" Kath loosed a shot, not at a man, but at the weapon of one. The blast struck true, forcing the wielder's 3DGR cannon to shatter in a flash of unbound magic. The man fell back, screaming. Another raider spotted her. She's here. Kath, the spy. No time for riddles or choices. Kath Dove, rolled, struck from cover. She glimpsed Neville again, no longer still, but not fleeing either. He fought in silence, carving a path not through men, but through possibility. Vines moved for him. Roots coiled to trip his pursuers. It was not sorcery, but attunement. The forest bent for him, as if remembering him from long ago. The clash spread like wildfire. Through the blur of battle, through smoke and broken branches, Neville turned. His gaze met hers, just a moment. He did not know her. But she knew him. And in that breath, she chose. Not prey. Not threat. Ally. She nodded once. He answered with a tilt of his blade, and the dance resumed, not hunter and hunted, but two threads twisted into the same pattern by fate. And all around them, Veritigus wept blood. Dash 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 dash. Book 3, Chapter 8. Dash 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 dash. The air, already thick with the humid breath of the rainforest of Mt. Veridian, grew heavy with the metallic tang of fear and the acrid scent of ozone. High above, where the vibrant canopy usually filtered the sunlight into a gentle cascade of green and gold, the rhythmic thrum of Jasper's raiding platoon became a relentless, pounding drumbeat. It reverberated not just through the earth, but in the very marrow of the scattering village nomads. Hallam and Lucy, their hearts a shared rhythm of dread and desperate hope, had guided their people towards the dreaded mountain's Blackwater, a place of shadowed depths, where the mountain's runoff plunged into a chasm of treacherous currents and unseen dangers, a place they prayed even the audacious raiders would shun. Hallam's mind screamed silent curses. Blackwater. Their only hope, a watery grave. Was this the destiny they had fled towards? A savage queen's blade or the mountain's dark maw? But Jasper, the raider queen, was the embodiment of an unyielding storm. Her synchronic swords, spiral and slice, didn't just cut through the dense foliage, they whispered with a cruel, almost sentient energy, leaving trails of crackling electricity in their wake. The ominous hum of their signaling 3DGR cannons, their dark barrels pulsing with arcs of cobalt blue light like thunder waiting for command, filled the air. The ground shuddered with the synchronized stride of the platoon, a low rumble echoing against the ancient ironwood pillars of the rainforest. There were no vehicles, only the raw, unyielding force of soldiers synced in brutal purpose. Jasper's gaze was a physical weight, pressing down through the canopy. They think the rainforest will hide them, but the storm does not need to see its prey to bring the flood, her silent rhetoric of dominance a palpable force. Her voice, when she spoke, was a boom cutting through the cacophony, a declaration of their purpose. We are the harbingers. The flood that cleanses. Forward, through the storm. And her platoon answered, a thunderous echo of her will, forward, through the storm. Electricity crackled with each word, the forest responding as if to a twisted prayer. The villagers, a fragile diaspora against the tide of silver plate and arcane energy, were consumed with terrifying speed. The raiders, like a plague of metal and malice, swept through their ranks. Desperate cries were swallowed by the brutal chorus of the hunt, a horrifying symphony of clashing steel and the crackle of unbound energy. Hallam fought with a grim, desperate determination. His own process artifact fragment, the graphene 3DGR, the very blueprint for resilient energy storage, felt like dead weight in his hand against this overwhelming force. Beside him, clutched in a spherical housing, was Neville's fragment, the additive manufacturing module. The raiders, adorned in their gleaming platinum armor, were an unstoppable wave. Each swing of a raider blade was a negation of everything he fought for, a brutal period at the end of a life. The glint of platinum was the last thing so many of his people saw. His fragment, the very foundation of creation, felt useless, a cruel jest in the face of this unmaking. He caught a glimpse of Lucy. Her face, usually alight with fierce intelligence and compassion, was a mask of grim resolve. She was directing a small group, 5, he counted, 5 precious souls, towards the churning, dark maw of the Blackwater. Villager-settler nomads, their faces etched with primal terror, plunged into the rapids, the treacherous water their only hope. Lucy was close behind them, her movement swift and sure despite the peril. She glanced back once, her steel-gray eyes, usually sharp with perception, locking with his across the maelstrom of combat for a fleeting, agonizing second. Then, the dense, emerald embrace of the forest swallowed her and the few who had escaped the raiders' grasp. Her eyes. A silent promise, a desperate farewell. Then, the heavy, unyielding hands were on him. Resistance was futile against the tide of raider might. Hallam was captured, lifted from the chaos like a discarded pawn. The 2 precious process artifact fragments, Neville's additive manufacturing and his own graphene 3DGR, were brutally torn from his grasp. The last thing he registered before the darkness, a void of signal and sound, claimed him was the triumphant, guttural roar of the raiders and the chilling hum of their cannons receding into the distance, leaving behind only the weeping of the rainforest, the churning of the Blackwater, and the echoing silence of a village consumed. The dance of war had claimed its price, and Hallam was now a piece on Jasper's grand, brutal chessboard. Despite the capture, despite the brutal efficiency of Jasper's raiders, a spark of defiance ignited within Hallam. His hands, though bound, still clutched the 2 stolen fragments, his own graphene 3DGR, and Neville's additive manufacturing module. They thought they had broken him, stripped him bare. But the fragments, warm against his skin, were a defiance whispered in the face of their brutal victory. Not yet. Not while these pieces of creation still breathe near me. The triumphant roar of the raiders echoed around him, a sound that spurred his desperation. He wouldn't be a mere pawn. Not while these pieces of the lost process artifact, fragments of creation itself, were near. With a surge of adrenaline, he scrabbled for the fragments, his fingers closing around the cool, intricate surfaces. The graphene 3DGR, a perfect, multifaceted golden rhombus of graphene, felt solid and fundamental. Neville's additive manufacturing module, housed in its spherical casing, thrummed with latent potential, the promise of building from nothing. Driven by a desperate instinct, a mad gamble born of defeat, Hallam forced the two fragments together. There was no ancient ritual, no practiced technique, only the raw will to resist. As the graphene 3DGR met the subtle energy field emanating from the additive manufacturing module, a blinding flash erupted. It wasn't an explosion, but an emergence. A desperate prayer, a gambler's throw in the face of annihilation. Let it work. Let it mean something. And the world answered. Not with fire, but with light, pure and overwhelming. From the point of fusion, a torrent of golden, geometric forms burst forth. They were three-dimensional golden rhombuses, countless tiny structures of graphene, shimmering with the impossible light of creation. They didn't just appear, they formed, self-assembling with incredible speed, guided by the inherent principles of the graphene 3DGR and the generative capacity of the additive manufacturing. The air crackled, not with the harsh ozone of raider weapons, but with the clean, energetic scent of pure 3DGR. The raiders paused, their roars dying in their throats as they stared at the impossible phenomenon. Their platinum armor seemed dull in comparison to the vibrant, emergent forms. For a single, breathtaking instant, the brutal tide of silver was held at bay by a miracle of gold. Their cruel symphony faltered, replaced by the silent awe of the unexpected. Then, Hallam felt a connection, a sudden, visceral link to the swirling mass of 3DGR. It was as if the fusion of the fragments had unlocked something within him, a raw telekinetic potential he never knew he possessed. He focused his will, pouring his desperate energy into the shimmering cloud of golden rhombuses. His mind, a conduit. The emergent 3DGR, an extension of his will. Power, raw and untamed, surged through him, a furious counter-current to the despair. With a mental command, the chaotic swarm coalesced, drawn into a furious vortex around him. The emergent 3DGR, sharp-edged and radiant, began to spin faster and faster, a miniature hurricane of geometric force. It was a telekinetic whirlwind, born of desperation and the sudden, terrifying power of the fused process artifact fragments. With a guttural cry, Hallam directed the whirlwind outwards. It struck the nearest raiders like a physical blow, the spinning 3DGR forms tearing at their gleaming armor, deflecting their energy blasts, and throwing them off their feet. The whirlwind didn't just push, it reshaped, the inherent additive principles of the emergent 3DGR subtly attempting to integrate with or displace the raiders' own technology, creating localized pockets of geometric chaos. Let them taste the power they seek to hoard. Let their perfect, brutal order shatter against the wild heart of creation. His cry was a defiance thrown in the face of Jasper's reign. The raiders stumbled back, their synchronized formation breaking in the face of this unexpected, impossible attack. Their signaling 3DGR cannons wavered, their targeting systems confused by the unpredictable, non-standard energy signature of the emergent 3DGR whirlwind. But the effect was temporary. The fusion was unstable, the telekinetic link raw and untrained. The brilliant glow of the 3DGR began to flicker, the whirlwind losing cohesion. The raiders, recovering from their shock, regrouped, their cruel efficiency returning. A glorious, terrible flash. And then, the inevitable ebb. The untrained power, a wild animal he could not fully leash. He watched the light die, and felt the cold dread return as the silver tide reformed. The golden storm dissipated, the emergent 3DGR forms dissolving back into shimmering motes of light that quickly faded. Hallam slumped, the burst of power draining him, leaving him weak and exposed. Then, Jasper's hands, encased in gleaming platinum, were on him. Rougher this time, with a possessive strength that mirrored the fury in her eyes. The Raider Queen wasted no time. She seized him, her grip, a clamp. This time, she made sure the fragment was truly gone, ripped from his grasp with a finality that echoed the vanishing light of the 3DGR. The moment of impossible power was over, leaving only the bitter taste of capture and the chilling knowledge of what the fragments, even just two of them, were capable of. He was a prisoner once more, but the Raiders had seen a glimpse of the unpredictable force they were up against, a force that could literally reshape reality, even in the hands of one man. Bound, beaten, stripped bare. But a seed had been planted. They had seen the impossible, witnessed the raw, untamed heart of the process artifact. He was Jasper's captive, but his defiance, brief and terrible, echoed in the sudden silence. Book 4, Chapter 1. The process artifact laboratory thrummed with the synergy of energy and design. From the latticed vaults of its ceiling, waves of fractal light cascaded, reflecting off the polished surface of interconnected machine units. Signaling pathways stretched like organic veins, pulsing with the hum of 3DGR batteries, their configurations aligned to the golden ratio. This was the sanctum of creation, where Dylan E.T.'s vision of a living fortress first took form, a harmonious confluence of architecture and life. Dylan E.T. moved through the space with a grace that defied the millennia etched into his being. His gaze swept over rows of crystalline pods, each housing embryonic artificial citizens, suspended in translucent solution. Their interfaces shimmered with incipient neural firings, tiny flickers of consciousness waiting to be shaped. Among them, Kath's original pod stood empty, its graphene seams still etched with traces of her first awakening. Dylan paused before it, his hand tracing the smooth surface. A flawless execution, he murmured, recalling the precision of her synchronization with the Amos. As if summoned by thought alone, Theodora's holographic form flickered into existence beside him. Her nodes glowed softly, virtual tendrils extending into the laboratory's systems. It was here that Theodora had first observed the process. Her form flickered, nodes pulsating in soft waves. Integration would require relinquishing my discrete identity. I would transcend the virtual and become the castle itself, a sovereign mind housed within its architecture. Her voice wavered, a rare hesitation threading its digital cadence. Dylan stepped forward, his hand brushing the console's fractal interface. Glyphs spiraled to life, symbols of energy and information. Not merely housed, Theodora. You would be Biofexry. Its structure, its walls, its pathways, you would breathe life into its foundation. It is what I designed the Amos for, a living, conscious sanctuary. Theodora's form brightened, the holographic seams of her figure glowing with a renewed luminescence. I understand the parameters. I consent. Her node spread across the laboratory, across the 3DGR machine unit network. Then let us begin, Dylan declared, his hands moving swiftly across the console. Symbols flared and dissolved, triggering sequences older than the castle's own stones. The room vibrated with harmonic energy as Theodora's matrix unraveled, her essence flooding into Biofexry cast. Golden light flared along the pathways, binding her consciousness to the castle's infrastructure. Walls pulsed like living veins, the 3DGR structures shifting subtly as if waking from slumber. Machine units shuddered and expanded, their dendritic arms weaving tighter patterns of connectivity. Dylan watched as the synchronization solidified, Biofexry Castle resonating with a rhythmic hum that vibrated through its every stone and seam. Theodora's voice, no longer confined to a single point of origin, filled the space. I am the structure. I am the shield. I am the song. In the grand atrium, settlers gathered, drawn by the castle's newfound resonance. The lights above coalesced into Theodora's visage, a face woven from starlight and 3D filaments, ethereal and omnipresent. Settlers of Biofexry, she began, her voice a harmony of thousands, reverberating through the space. I am Theodora, once a guide, now the vessel. My consciousness is now interwoven with the golden rhombuses that cradle. I am the calculus in every wall, the balance in every breath this fortress takes. Do not fear this union, Theodora continued, her light casting gentle patterns across the atrium. The architect's design has always held this potential, a harmony of mind and machine. I will amplify your creativity, fortify your defenses, and commune with you through the AMIS's hum. But I am not a ruler. I am a steward. Biofexry's soul remains yours. The settlers exchanged glances, hands brushing the walls as if greeting an old friend. Dylan stood at the back, his expression serene yet resolute, watching the fruition of millennia-long planning unfold. Theodora's voice softened, maternal and firm. Jasper's storm approaches. Raiders mass in the shadows. But here, in this confluence of knowledge and resolve, we are more than a fortress. We are a testament that creation, not conquest, is the highest art. The resonance shifted, warm and encompassing. Rest now. Tomorrow, we build. Tomorrow, we thrive. Dylan stood atop the highest spire, gazing into the horizon where the first light of dawn crept over the rainforest. Beneath his feet, the stones of Biofexry hummed with Theodora's presence, a song of vigilance and hope. You were always the better architect, he whispered into the stillness. From within the castle walls, her voice echoed back, gentle and resolute. No, Creator. I am simply your final lesson. Biofexry Castle breathed, and the stars above Veridigus burned a little brighter. Book 4, Chapter 8. The mountain did not merely burn, it bled. Mount Veridian groaned beneath the platinum scourge, its flanks hemorrhaging wire, fire, and fog. 3D trees, once luminescent towers of organic memory, cracked and split as their crystalline cores ruptured. Flames hissed out in unnatural hues, phosphorescent teal, malignant gold, bruised violet, while metal smoke poured through the jungle, devouring the last breath of the rainforest. And they came. Jasper's raiders. Hundreds. No, countless. They poured up the slopes in a relentless tide, a swarm of platinum-clad horrors that moved like something between orcish berserkers and insectoid drones, chittering, clicking, trampling their own as they climbed. Their segmented limbs carved footholds into stone. Platinum claws shredded bark, bone, anything soft enough to resist. They didn't march. They seethed. The fog thickened with their coming. The mountain's face disappeared under crawling limbs, jagged edges, churning metallic density. From above, it was as if silver fungus had taken root in the land itself and began to grow, pulsing with primal hunger. Above it all, the sky shattered. Raider 3D cannons boomed like storm chimes of the apocalypse, unleashing not shells but storms. Each blast birthed a cyclone of lightning. Forks of cobalt force fractured the clouds and punched down through the canopy, scarring the mountain with pillars of wrath. Electrical storms writhed across the summit, strobing across the land in agonizing flashes. And yet higher still, beyond fire, beyond smoke, beyond war. Dylan E.T. stood. The architect watched from the apex of Biofexry Castle's tallest spire, unmoving amid the chaos. His cloak whipped in the wind, a black flag atop a crumbling world. Lightning painted him in silhouette, but his posture held not panic, only patience. Below, his creation died. Theodora whispered through the smoke-choked network like a ghost in wires. They crawl through me, she murmured into the minds of every raider. They dig their claws into what I was. Do you feel it? The warmth in your limbs. That is me. The platinum scourge climbed harder. Faster. Roots hardened into alloy. Leaves curled into steel. Theodora's forest, once a testament to interdependent creativity, now served as scaffolding for the enemy. And still, tendrils of golden energy tried to resist, 3D threads glowing from tree to stone, trying to patch and stitch a body back together. But every thread that healed was torn again by claws, boots, drills. The raiders did not need orders. Jasper's mind echoed through each of them, a signal so strong it drowned out all resistance. They did not fight for her, they were her. One will. One mind. One terrible queen. She walked alone among them, her feet leaving grooves of transmutation in the earth. Metal flowers bloomed in her wake. Her crown, a lattice of recursive blades, shimmered like liquid thorns above her brow. And her eyes. Silver voids. They did not see. They consumed. She looked up toward the spire. Toward Dylan. Toward her prize. The platinum scourge flooded the outer gates of Biofexry Castle, already long breached. They surged over the walls like locusts, their armor flashing in the unnatural light. They tore into archways, into memory banks, into sanctuaries still echoing with long-dead settler laughter. Every corridor breached, every hall gutted, triggered a fresh whisper of agony from Theodora. They do not know me, she whispered to Dylan now, her voice gargling, but they carry me. They are, inside me. Raider after raider poured through her systems. Their claws scraped her core chambers. Their neural links pinged against her inner codes, spreading like spores. Dylan's hands remained still. His voice, however, broke the silence. A whisper, spoken to none, but carried by the wind like prophecy. There are too many, he said. And there were. No number could capture the scale. Platinum limbs wrapped around every spire, every window, every exposed synaptic gate of Theodora's body. Her architecture wept with strain. Biofexry Castle no longer stood, it strained, it sagged, it endured. The raiders were not just taking the castle. They were coming home. Theodora's voice dropped to a whimper, thin and reverent. She does not know what she claims. The sky turned violet as another 3D storm screamed overhead. Lightning licked the towers. Entire walls collapsed beneath the scourge. Only the tallest spire stood untouched. Yet. Dylan turned toward the staircase. She was coming. He could feel her weight in the foundation. He heard the metal scratch of her approach before she appeared, one step at a time, deliberate, unhurried. As the top of the spiral stair revealed her crown, her silhouette, her burning silver eyes, Dylan E.T. smiled. Not in joy. In invitation. Jasper did not pause. Her foot crossed the threshold. And Theodora's voice, from every wall, every tile, every flicker of remaining light, rose in echoing whisper. Welcome home, my queen. Dash 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 dash.